Hello and welcome along and welcome to the FSL Easter Challenge. And I am joined today with Copter. Hey Copter, how are we doing?
All good here. I mean, definitely lovely to be here again. It's been a while. We had the end of 2022 season in in December, and now we are finally here, starting off the 2023 season with the first event and the first tournament of the whole season. And it's not just any tournament. It's not an online tournament, actually a LAN event. There's currently a gaming festival going on called Cactus in Leipzig in Germany, and the players are actually on the stage. And there's going to be 8 teams on the site, and they're going to play today and tomorrow. And I think we're going to be having a great weekend with the Farming Simulator League.
Indeed, I'm really looking forward to it. The return of the FSL back for the next season, and absolutely brilliant to see it back here, and to have this nice special event going forwards into it as a nice warm-up for it, really.
Yeah, it's definitely nice. And of course, it's nice to see you as well. I think we saw a glimpse of the German casting team there, but now we are finally back. We can see the lovely face of Alex, and of course, well, myself, I'm not going to say anything about it. It's still Saturday morning, please understand that. But anyways, it is the first tournament of the season. We do have some changes as well. I think we're going to be having the introduction video starting pretty soon as well. So even though Kerminator is not here, we can still hear his lovely voice on this introduction video. And Kermit, do you want to talk about the changes? Alex.
We've had a couple of changes that I need to bring them up because
okay, we'll come back to those.
I think was meant. Yeah, we'll come back to those in a bit. But yeah, there have been a couple of changes. But as Copter mentioned, we are heading over for the instruction video with Kermit's wonderful voice, who we're missing today.
Welcome to the tutorial of the Farming Simulator Tournament client. This video will give you a quick overview of the game mode. A match consists of 2 teams with 3 players on both sides. Once the lobby is full, the game starts with the pick and ban phase. Vehicles with different properties and perks that give you and your team additional powers can be selected here. First, the team captain bans the vehicles which won't be available for both teams in the upcoming match. Afterwards, they can select a specific team perk that'll give their team a certain advantage, and they might secure a harvester or baler as well. After this stage, the captain can pick his own tractor and player perk. This stage will be repeated for the other players as well. A little twist in the pick and ban phase are the limited amount of points a team can spend. So make sure there are enough points for every player to be able to pick and choose wisely. More details about the vehicles and perks can be found on our stat sheet, which is linked on fsl.giants-software.com. Before we let you play, however, let's have a short look at the map for some orientation. Compared to last season, it got a little facelift. It features more hills in the terrain, and there are 2 separate fields now. We've also added additional hidden paths to the silo, and the barn zone looks much smoother altogether. To reach the bale barn, you will still have the 3 dynamic bridges linked to those of the other team. But take care, they are tricky. As a safe way, you can always use the static ditch crossing instead. As soon as the game starts, every player sits in his or her selected vehicle and is looking for the randomly spawning harvesters and balers on their respective pods. Make sure to claim them before the opposing team does so. If a team is able to secure all harvesters or balers, the game ends in a rush, unless you secured one of them during the pick and ban phase earlier. Once you have your garage together, you have 15 minutes to win the game. So, how do you win? The goal of the game is to score more points than your opponent. You get these points for delivering bales at the barn. To increase the value of the bale, you can sell the grain you harvested on the field at the silo. This increases your multiplier and decreases your opponent's. But be aware, there are special events happening during these 15 minutes of game time as well. At minute 12, 8, and 4, special drops will appear somewhere randomly on the map. Each of these 16 random drops has a different impact to either of the teams. So make sure you pick the one which fits your current tactic or goal the most, and be prepared to adapt. Excited? Then gather 2 friends and form your team on our website fsl.giants-software.com. Train hard and compete in one of our tournaments. Enjoy and happy farming.
So there we go. That is how to play FSL.
Yeah, for a while, I mean, we did hear the audio, we didn't see the video. Of course, a bit of an awkward moment here on the studio, but we tried to make the best out of it. But anyways, we got through of it, and at least you saw the last parts of the video, and I just spoke with the production. They have some new guys working there and probably some new technology for this season as well. So they're working out the kinks, so don't worry about it. But and also the video was new. It wasn't the same what we had last year, and I'm not sure about the voice though. Was it Terminator or was it not? Because it was a different voiceover what we had last year.
I don't think that was Kermit. Yeah, it was one of those things where I'm sitting here trying not to look too conspicuous while we were on screen and it was playing. But yeah, the voice, I don't think that was our good friend Kermit. So yeah, we're really missing him today. He's not here, unfortunately.
We'll find a way.
Either that or the preview video. Yes.
Anyways,
so
we're talking about
the changes.
Yes, go on, please.
Yes.
I'm not going to stop you anymore.
You put me on the spot here. Just tell me about the changes, Copter, because I, being the wonderful person that I am, have managed to miss them. So,
okay. I mean, as far as I know, what I have been checking out the differences. So the only difference what I can see is that you can use the team perk only once in a one best of 3 series. So you cannot choose a team perk all the time. It's only one match when you can choose the team perk, and that's about it. So that is limited. As far as I know, everything else should be the same. So that is the change what I have been informed about. And of course, there will be more announcements about the upcoming season. There will be some changes, and the whole calendar of this 2023 season is going to be announced later. And of course, I do have some information about it, but of course, it's still very strictly under NDA and classified. So I don't want to be getting anybody from the Giant Software coming to the studio and just, handing me the papers to go to the court. So you will get it through the official channels later when the time is right.
I think that change is a really, really interesting one, because lots and lots of teams have been very reliant on a single perk. So anyways,
we do have our first game starting.
The first match now.
Yeah, the first game, and we do have, of course, the information about the matches. So we do have Lindner, who placed 5th last season on the Farming Simulator League. They managed to gather 170 circuit points last season, and then this very complicated, kind of like English, a bit of French name. And I think, Alex, you pronounce it better. Just go ahead.
I think, I think that passes out as just Detractor, which is just a brilliant name. I absolutely love that. So we'll see how well they do. A little bit of a wild card from then. We've got against Lindner, who of course we've seen play a fair amount, and this is going to be a very interesting game. As I was saying just before it started, that the whole thing of only having one team perk, or only having being able to select one team perk and then not use it in the other matches of the best of 3. Teams are going to have to be very careful what they pick early on, and it's going to change every match quite considerably going through that. Which is going to be interesting. Going to be very interesting, I think.
Yes, definitely. I mean, of course, this is the first game we're going to see with the first series, not the first. Well, it's the first match as well, but first match of the first series, where we're going to see this new rule change regarding the team perk. And I guess, I mean, yes, Alex had some great ideas how it's going to change the gameplay, and now we just have to wait and see how it will actually affect it. Otherwise, the ban and picks, that is the same. So we still have the player bans and the picks. So that is completely fine. And now we can see the picks coming up. So the captain picks were done, and the ban phase was done, and now we go for the player picks. So this is the same. They still have the same point system, so that hasn't changed. So everything on this phase is still the same. And of course, when it comes to the actual gameplay, the 15-minute round, the perks which are dropping and so on, that is the same. So none of the basic concepts of the farming simulator league has changed. And yeah, I mean, we had some great time last year, definitely, with this series. So I'm really eagerly waiting, of course, how this first match and the whole first tournament and the whole season is going to go, because there is definitely a lot of fun. And I can already see chat talking about the pancakes, so clearly they haven't forgotten what we, in a way, accidentally started. So maybe if the pancake stuff is going to keep on going, I think it's going to be time for another pancake stream at some point, but that's a different story then later. We'll figure out the time and the place for it. But yeah, there we go, Archimedes. There's no peak for Sinfrey at all, and Zerserus goes with the runner. And also, when it comes to the players' pick, so does it mean that this I mean, we saw that there was only a couple picks. There was in total 3 players who didn't pick anything as a perk. So maybe we have missed out something on the rules. Anyways, we gotta figure that out later. So we can see that the 15-minute round is starting. We can see Apollo rushing to the pads immediately. They gotta go in to try to secure that new Holland baler. And we can see also Just the Track there, just going past it. I think they had an idea to go there as well, but they decided to go past. And a bit of a different spectating as well, because I didn't see anybody running, first of all. I mean, without any kind of a vehicle. We saw the people with the runner perk last season, that when they went to the pads, they actually run. We had these huge running battles, and that didn't happen this time. But yeah, we are already here trying to make the first bale, and the tosses should be coming in a matter of, I would say, seconds. The point scheme should be the same, and Sinfrey is definitely the one who's going to be pressing the first bale, and Justicon on the Just Detractor side, it'll be also delivering the first bale, and they're pretty close to each other. Maybe a Just Detractor actually has a slight advantage here, and Sinfrey and Justicon just about the same time. And let's see how the toss is, or how they will anyways try to deliver the bale inside of the barn. Sinfrey tries to go with a swing. Does he get it? No, he doesn't, and Justicon also, he's going to reverse it in, so it's going to be 120-7, and Sinfrey comes for the second try, and I think he's going to be trying to push it inside, and that's going to be 120, so the gap is not a huge one.
All things considered, that was a pretty good recovery there from Lindner. They were left scrambling to try and find a baler after they got blocked in several places by Just a Tractor, and yet even failing to do the go in and drop it on the move, they still managed to only be 7 points behind. That actually is a really good start from Lindner, considering how much they were blocked to begin with. So yeah, really good work there from Lindner. Really good recovery early on. They have minimized the damage that they had from being blocked by Just a Tractor, and as a result, they still are very much in this. Just a Tractor now coming in and unloading. I believe Lindner are doing the same, although Just a Tractor are emptying both their combines at the same time, whereas Lindner are managing to empty both on the move. Lindner have a really good advantage in that they have managed to end up with 2 of the ideal combines, so they have a larger grain capacity than their opponents, and that could come into play in the later stages of this match.
Well, the first perk is just about to drop, or the first drop is going to come, so a good old 12-minute drop should be coming, and let's see. I mean, after observing this match for a couple of minutes, there we go, Crazy Tool and Direct Delivery. Let's see if there's anything going to be picked. Direct Delivery doesn't make much of a sense at this moment, and Crazy Tool is maybe something, okay, but they will go for the Direct Delivery though, so that is something. But the saying about the about the observing and what we can see, not actually about the observing, but what is being observed, is that maybe it's just me, but what I can see here is that we can definitely see Lindner. Yes, they know how the game works, and they are very experienced with it. But with the just detracted, I can see that they how they are moving their vehicles, and how they're working as a one group on the fields. I can see that kind of like the they haven't like integrated that well yet, because we can see some small like touches and crashes with the vehicles, and it's not like a perfect ballet on the floor. It's a bit of like a hit and miss from time to time.
They've also grabbed Crazy Tool at a time when their opponents grabbed direct delivery, and the trouble with that is it's going to cause an issue for them, as Lindner are just going to be able to deliver more grain overall at this stage. I'm expecting an uneven multiplier by the end of this, and as a result, there it is, 2.2 to 1.8. They've not been able to create any bales with Crazy Tool, and as a result, they've ended up with this mismatched level of multiplier, and they're gonna have to claw that back in order to not be at a big disadvantage in the later stages.
Anyway, so we are still at the same situation as we were. There's no bales being pressed currently, so both sides are without the bales, so they are still harvesting the grain. And well, I mean, they have been delivering some as well. We can see Lindner, for example, they have delivered 30. They have gathered about 30k, and we will see the overall. Then we can see the overall situation. So they are about tied with the grain game currently, and we can see the multipliers. I mean, Lindner did manage to unload some. This just detracted, they were just a bit late from that, so there's a slight advantage to Lindner's side at the moment. But 2.2 is, it's pretty perfect actually for them for the moment. So we'll see just how the rest of the collection is going to go. And let's see this how this goes here on the field. This is something that I said earlier, that it wasn't the perfect ballet on the field, but now it was a pretty smooth operation actually. So they will just start unloading the grain on the wagon, and now we can see Sinfrey actually going for the silos, and he's probably gonna wait, or he's gonna start unloading it. So this is the moment when you need to make the decision: will you start unloading it before the 8-minute mark, or will you wait over it and see if there's something coming on the drop that might be giving you even bigger advantage? And for the moment, it seems that they are not unloading it, because we don't see any changes on the multipliers. We can see also just detracted, gotta go next to the silo, waiting for it. And Sinfrey meanwhile gonna pick up the baler. No, he's gonna leave it there, so he's gonna take the tractor only, and he's gonna move in and take another baler as just gonna arrive next to the silo, and about 40 seconds. But he's gonna start unloading it, so he wants to make the multiplier at least even, maybe a bit more. And I'm a bit scared. He's like very close to the edge of the silo drop, so it's almost like he could miss half of that grain, but he's not. So he's just gonna make the multiplier a slight advantage to them. And meanwhile, we can see Lindner still continuing the collection, and there we go. The 8-minute drop is going to be coming in 15 seconds, so then we'll see. I mean, for example, when Lindner has a slight advantage with the grain, can they find something from the fields that will actually allow them to take like a huge advantage of it, or will it just be something pretty normal?
Oh no, it's grain multiplier! Grain multiplier has come up. That is about as bad as it could get for just a tractor. They've dropped grain before the 8-minute mark. I'm fully expecting Lindner now to get the grain multiplier and to use that to their full advantage. This could be really bad for just a tractor. If they do not have the grain to match Lindner with this multiplier, it could be really, really awful. And look at that. Lindner have a massive amount of grain ready to drop the moment they grab that.
Yeah, it's a huge setup which they have there.
Going to come back from this. They have nothing there.
Yeah, it's I mean, they had about 55k of grain.
The grain multiplier.
Yeah.
But they don't have everything there.
Yeah, it's gonna. I don't think that they have enough
That's
time.
bad.
They have about 75 seconds that they can use for the unloading. They do have a bigger multiplier though, so it's 1.6 because they had less grain. So this will be interesting because, I mean, yes, they had about 40k when the drop came in, but then they still managed to gather something like 5k, so the difference is actually just about 10k in grain without the multiplier. And when you take that multiplier into account and the slight advantage which just the track they had before they started to unload it, so I mean, it's going to be interesting to see where the multiplier is going to be ending up. And I was thinking, I was saying about the mechanics on the field earlier, and not now having the setup. So I'm slightly worried what's going to happen at the end game when you actually have to start delivering the bales, because the movements from just the track there haven't been yet convinced. But you know, I mean, it's their first game. I think they're doing fine. They have been leading at least the first match for the at least the half of it, so they're doing a good job. But it's not easy when you come to let's say an online tournament, your first game on this arena, and then you face the fifth place team from the last season on your first match. So I really do have a huge respect for these guys, that they show up on a LAN event and you know, they will have to face one of the best teams out there. So this is interesting to see how this is gonna end up. And there we can see finally some first bales gonna be delivered as well. So Lindner will get 2 bales on the belt. They do have about 10 bales pressed, so that is about 5 more than just the tractor. But we still have plenty of time left.
And it's, yeah, it can't stay like this. There's, well, just the tractor really need to deliver some grain, and I don't know if they still have grain sitting here at all. Yeah, they got 32,000 liters that they didn't deliver during that grain multiplier. They were at a 3 times to 1 times disadvantage, and they are bringing grain in now, but without that multiplier, they're going to have a very hard time of actually of evening things up. I think we're looking at somewhere around a 2.5 to 1.5 multiplier. And with Lindner going in and scoring on a regular basis here, yeah, that's going to be impossible to come back from, especially now that there's a 140 points difference. No, it's got even higher. 100 and what is that? 170 point difference. That's huge.
Yeah, I mean, they have the multiplier. Of course, the belt is slower, but they already had a couple of bales there on the belt. They got a couple more in, 350. So this is how the end game always goes on. Then we can see the players as well. So we can see maybe I don't know, not so varied faces, but definitely they are thinking about something. Well, the Lindner guys, they are just laughing. So they're definitely having a great time at Leipzig. And if you're anywhere nearby, by the way, on the Leipzig area, definitely go to the event. There's going to be also tomorrow, the matches will be shown on the stage. I think there's about 10k visitors on the whole event, so it's actually a pretty big place. So just go and say hello for the Giant Software team, who have a great booth, and they also have the, of course, running the show on the expo area. So just go ahead and say hello. And of course, well, you can find more information from the social medias of Giant Software. But meanwhile, we do have a multiplier switch, which just the tractor is going to pick up, and that's going to at least give a slight chance. Of course, the gap is pretty big, but still, they get 2.3 for them, so that's going to be, well, of course, more points per 1 bale, as we can see, as they are just putting them in. So that is 46 points on the belt, and they can start gathering the points finally, but still coming back from that more than 400 point gap. It's going to be a huge task for them. But yeah, we'll see what's going to happen. This is only the first game. You know, maybe they are getting the pace of the game and they can, you know, show who they are on the second match. But this game is, I really hate to say it, we are 3 minutes on the game still, but it's really looking that Lindner, they have the grasp from just the tractor, definitely. And I would say that it's going to make it's going to need more than a miracle to come back from this, even a bigger miracle to have Terminator on the broadcast.
Yeah, I was about to say that I was very impressed that Just a Tractor had managed to get the multiplier on their side up to 2.3 with the grain that they'd had. But of course, they got that 4-minute drop. They managed to reverse that multiplier, but they were not able to take full advantage of it, and this gap has just got wider and wider. Lindner showing exactly where that experience that they have becoming fit in the last season. Oh, just detractor taking a plummet off the bridge, but seemed to be okay.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a bit scared. But anyways, regarding the point situation, as you mentioned, I mean, it's looking very, very bad for just the Tractia. They have 13 bales, so even if they deliver all those bales, it's less than 300 points. And they, even with the bales available, which they have currently, and even if they would press, let's say, like 10 more bales, I don't think it's going to close the gap anymore. So unfortunately, they are in a situation that is kind of like non-reversible at this point. But yeah, let's see how this how the handling actually goes here, because we haven't seen this much. So we do have Hapax, who is managing the bales at the Just Attractive side. Okay, now we come back to the Lindner side, because Zerserus doing the work as always, having 3 bales on the belt, a nice formation of bales around the belt, so that means that he should be able to work pretty efficiently. And Hapax maybe a little bit stumbling there, but he will get at least one of the bales on the belt. That's going to be a hard pick, so he's going to go for the next one, which is nicely there on the line. And when you compare it here, how Zerserus is just picking these bales, which has been nicely parked, but now he's going to make a mistake. And both of the bales are not going to go on the belt at all. That one is going to drop for sure. It's going to drop. But yeah, let's see what's going to happen with the last one. Yeah, it's going to go inside, because I was just wondering if that one bale is going to block the entry, but that didn't happen. So quite rare to see this kind of a situations, actually.
Perfect example of the caster curse there. I knew the next words out of your mouth were going to be, oh, he's looking like he's stacking them really nicely on that conveyor, just as it all goes awry and all goes horribly, horribly wrong. But it looks like it's going to be a 900 game here, maybe for Lindner. Yes, there we go. 900 points overall. A really good showing there from Lindner. Showing exactly why they've got the experience they have, and how well they bring it to the table in this match. I think Just Attractor are going to have a look at where they went wrong with that. How their score was. That's a low score for an FSL match, and yeah.
I mean, when you look at the grain, when they lost the multiplier, so I think they were putting a lot of focus on the grain, actually, even though for us it seemed that they are, losing that battle, but still they did put a lot of effort and a lot of focus on it. I think they probably maybe forgot some other duties meanwhile, and then the multiplier kind of like came in, Lindner got it, so I think it was still a good effort as a first showing on the FSL. And I'm really hoping to see in the next game that they have been kind of like, learning from it, maybe, changing something a little bit. And also I did speak with our staff at the venue about the rules, because I was myself a bit of a confused, to be honest, when we saw the player picks as well. And it seems that also players are allowed to pick the perk only once per best of 3 series. So it's not just the team perk, it's actually the player perks as well. So that's why we didn't see much of a perk being chosen. I think we had 3 players who would pick up the perk, and then 3 players who did pick it up.
I think we're going to see a very different style of gameplay from that as well. We'll see players being much more rounded in what they pick. So we won't just see one player having the runner perk the whole time as a result, obviously. But I think we'll see different players on the team picking that perk each time, because they won't want to lose that speed. They won't want to lose the ability to run very, very quickly. And as a result, I think we'll then see different stackers coming into play in different games and things like that. And people won't just specialize so much anymore, because they won't be able to. If you've got the under pressure perk, you've got to be out there pressing bales. You can't be sitting back at the barn stacking them. So yeah, I think it's going to make everything very much more interesting, because people won't just be able to sit where they normally sit. What do you think?
And that is also the reason why kind of like the whole starting of the game, as we didn't see those runners running for the pads, because not everybody had the perk. So I would say that what actually happens during the first 30 seconds is quite different but it's also very important because then when you cannot like pick the perks, then you want to make sure that you still get the utility you need from the pads. So that's maybe like, comes to a better. I mean, the importance of the vehicles on the pads is like even higher, and that's the situation. But we're gonna follow, of course, during the game, and I'm very excited to see myself how the whole gameplay is gonna shape during the first day, and then of course tomorrow we have the finals as well. But we have, of course, the second match of this best of 3 series starting, and all the matches, by the way, are best of 3s except for the final tomorrow. That's gonna be best of 5. So yes, we do have 4 matches today, 4 best of 3 series today, and then tomorrow we have the semifinals and the grand final, and it's about the same time, about 10:15 Central European time. We're going to be starting up tomorrow as well, so make sure to be there. Make sure to make your pancakes, and I'm pretty sure that Virtual Farmer, I mean, last season I think almost every morning he had a delivery of pancakes, so maybe it's going to be time for that tomorrow as well.
I think with the best of 5s tomorrow, with being unable to pick a perk more than once in a best of game, it's going to be very interesting, because if a game goes to 5 games, or a match goes to 5 games, we're going to see some very different perks getting picked by that 5th game, and a very different setup and a very different style of play, and it'll be interesting to see whether teams hold back specific perks for later on, or whether they try and do something early. So for example, do you put your strongest stacker on under pressure in the first game, where it's less important that you have somebody stronger on the stacking in the first game, and want them there for the later ones? Or do you hope that you manage to win it in 2 and then maybe end up with your stacker having the under pressure perk in the last game, where it's a little more crucial? So I'm intrigued to see where this goes, and we're already seeing it here. We've got both teams with a completely different perk going into this match.
Yeah, I'm just wondering about when we mentioned the best of 5 series for the finals, and then you said that how the strategies can change, and in a way, I would imagine that, of course, I mean, everybody wants to win, let's say, fast as possible. They don't want to give any rounds to the other team. This is actually not matching up the situation when we see that there's already 4 perks for the players. So I guess the player once per series is not the thing then. It cannot be, because now we already have at least one player who decided to pick up a perk on the last game. So okay, this is different. This is I don't know. We gotta double check the rules. It seems that the players have been informed.
Is it the same? I'm not sure it's the
we
same.
are a bit in the dark.
I'm not sure it's the same players with the same perks though.
Yeah, but if you can pick a perk only once per series, or does it mean that you can still choose a different perk?
So each player can only choose that perk once per series.
Okay, so they can still choose a perk every time, but it needs to be a different
last time, he can't. Yes.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense, because of course my tunnel brain vision just told me that okay, they can choose it once. But okay, yeah, it's definitely gonna make the whole thing interesting on the best of 5 series, and there we can finally see the good old battles as Zerzeros manages to secure it, and Apollo's gonna claim something as well, so they're gonna start building up the first bale once again. Here we go, Sinfrey claimed. Did we get that text last season?
And
I don't remember.
Start for Lindner.
Yeah. I don't remember seeing that claimed text. I think it's maybe an observing difference or something, but I don't really like it. It's like claimed. It's almost like when you play GTA and then you have this message like owned.
Oh, and we got some Farm Sim royalty in the house. Hello to Mr. DJ Goham. How are you doing, my friend? Hope things are good with you this morning.
Farming Simulator royalties. Well, I mean, then, Alex, you gotta be the king.
I'm just a small fish in a very big pond.
As we all. Anyways, here we have the first bales coming up. So Just the Track is gonna get a 125 and Lindner at 126. So pretty similar setup. I think
That's
Just the Track
close.
they got 127 on the first game and Lindner got 120. But now, what I really want to focus on here is what's gonna happen during the next, okay, let's say 5 minutes. We saw in the last game that Just the Track that they did kind of like, had a bit of a confusion on the fields, but they still were very focused on the grain. And then when the grain multiplier came, that's when the spine almost like snapped. You can almost hear it there on the audience as well. And I want to see that they will find a way getting around it. Maybe, as we can see, a bit of a trouble for Lindner. Nothing major, but that caused like a couple seconds getting that extra bump with the tractor. But I definitely would love to see this going for the third game of the series, because I think that when you have the guts to come to the land stage as a team who has never in the past made an appearance on the Farming Simulator League, I think that courage should be somehow rewarded, and that's what I'm really hoping that they will actually get on the last game of the series as well.
I think things will be a lot closer if they're able to pick their perks a little bit better, pick their bonuses a little bit better this time. They definitely got hurt by picking Crazy Tool over direct delivery last game, and delivering their grain before that grain multiplier hit also harmed them. I mean, they had less grain anyway, so all of that was a perfect storm to cause them to have the low score they did. I think if they can get that under control, they can pick things a little bit better this time, then they'll do well. And in fact, there's some wonderfully disruptive stuff here. Do you go for silo closed and stop your opponents from delivering any grain, or do you go direct delivery and try and get extra grain in there? It's a really, really tough choice here. And it'd be interesting to see which way Lindner goes with it. It could be very, very damaging going for the wrong one here. And Lindner are going silo closed. Now, so both teams are closing the silo. Both teams going for the disruptive play rather than the play that would get them some multiplier on the board. And in fact, if one team goes for that silo close, you can't go for the direct delivery, because then the other team is just able to deliver so much more grain than you, even with you having that direct delivery. So yeah, not surprised both teams have gone for the disruptive choice there. It is a good choice, and we'll see where it takes them. Looks like, Just a Tractor claiming another combine for some reason. I think they're really going for that extra grain this time. They know that they were deficient in the grain last time, and they know that they've got to get more this time in order to win. And it looks like they are improving their gameplay in order to try and beat Lindner, which is fantastic to see.
I think what we are seeing here is that, yes, just like you said it, Alex, Just the Tractor, they are definitely collecting more grain. Getting the silo closed, I mean, at this point, it doesn't really make much of a difference, because we usually see the kind of like the grain drops coming so late. So, it's almost over for both of the teams. It's not really doing much for the situation. But what we can see from the Lindner side is that kind of like they understand that, okay, the problem for Just the Tractor was that they didn't kind of like manage the grain game. And now we can see that also Lindner has been collecting more grain. So they kind of like, estimated this move. They saw that this was coming, that if they want to beat us, that's where they're going to do the improvement. So we got to improve on that area as well. And I think that both of the teams, they have about maximum the same, about 64k of grain, which is for Just the Tractor about 20k more than last game, and also for Lindner about 9k more than the last game. So both teams are kind of like prepared for it. And now the question is, when we have 9.5 minutes on the clock, is, of course, I mean, it's only 1 minute and 20 seconds from the 8-minute drop, and what's going to come out of it, and will you start to unload, or will you just prepare the whole setup? I think that's the thing, that the both teams, they want to prepare the whole setup before the 8-minute drop comes in. We know that there cannot be silo closed anymore, because it already came on 12-minute mark, so there will be nothing coming on the 8-minute drop that's going to be blocking these guys from delivering the grain. So the only thing that can come is the advanced advantage. So the smart choice would be to wait for the possible advantage, because if the other team picks that up and you don't. But okay, now just attract actually they will take the risk. This is actually a risk, because now when they started to unload it, they don't unload everything. But this is definitely a risk. If there is a grain multiplier, then that could be the fatal mistake. But it's kind of like, you know, you just have to bet on the right horse, and they're gonna bet on the horse which says that there will be no grain multiplier on the 8-minute drop.
What is the chance of grain multiplier turning up at the 8-minute drop 2 games in a row? This is either a masterful play from Just Attractor, or it is going to bite them hard. And yeah, really big risk here, especially as Silo Close is not going to turn up. Oh, and his bridges raised and bridges lowered. I will be surprised if either team goes for that. It's not going to make much difference at all. And any team that goes out there and gets that is going to waste valuable time doing it. And Just Attractor have done exactly that.
Yeah,
they've lowered all their bridges.
What I'm worried here is the fact that the okay, we saw that Apex had some I don't know, maybe issues, or maybe I don't know what was going on there around the pads. But okay, meanwhile, as Just Attracted did unload that crane, look at Lindner. They have 77,000 of grain. So they have, I mean, look at this. They're just like connecting all these vehicles. This is like one of the biggest setups we have seen in the Farming Simulator League. Having 4 vehicles around the silo, 77,000 of grain. And then also at the same time, if you look at the bales, Lindner has been pressing the bales. Just Attracted, they just started to press the bales. 1 minute ago, they still had 0 bales. So the same thing happened, that meanwhile, as they were so heavily focused on the grain, they really actually didn't press the bales, and somehow Lindner managed to do it. So, Lindner has a grain advantage, so they should be ending up to a situation where Lindner has more bales, and they have a slight advantage on the multiplier. It could be actually a pretty huge advantage as well. So, so of course, the end game will be now slightly having an advantage towards Lindner, but they have some issues with the bridge. So these bales, they have to go from the different bridge. And I don't know why, but the intro video doesn't say anymore the safer route, but Sinfra is not going to go for it.
And I think that Just Attractor concentrated a little too much on the grain this time. And unfortunately, because Lindner have these 3 combines sitting here, they have so much more grain now than Just Attractor have. And Just Attractor needed actually to be scoring points when they had that 3 times multiplier. So they managed to get that multiplier up there. But they made the same mistake we've seen many teams make before. Getting the multiplier high and then not using it. And not delivering any bales, not scoring any points, and then letting their opponents come and turn it completely the other way. And just not taking advantage of the advantage they had. Sarah's flipping bales onto the front of his front loader.
That's how I make my pancakes.
Fantastic. Bale flipping.
Yeah, that's a skill. That is something that I haven't seen in the past. But yeah, one thing, I mean, I gotta mention, I mean, one thing that has happened on this series, which didn't happen on the previous one, is Just Attracted. They managed to deliver bales, actually to the barn, before Lindner. So they are actually leading. Of course, that's gonna change pretty soon, as Lindner has 4 bales on the belt, and they have this huge advantage with the multiplier. But still, I mean, they managed to not just to stay with the first bale points, but also put couple bales on the belt and kind of like extend that lead at least for a while. But now, of course, the whole situation has changed, as Lindner going for 230 points, and Just Attract probably going to be around 200 points, past 200 points soon. Of course, the 4th-minute drop. I mean, if there would be a multiplier switch, that is maybe something that could definitely work for Just Attractive, but we had that on the last game, and you said it with the silo closed and the grain multiplier, that can it happen a second time in a row? And no, it will not. It's gonna be bale points. it is still a good thing if they can pick that up, but it's not so impactful as, for example, the multiplier switch.
And Lindner have grabbed it, so that's put them even further in the lead. This is definitely a better game from Just a Tractor. It really is. They have played a tighter game, but Lindner once again just sort of showing why they were in the top 5 last season. Just
but
really,
it's definitely still a better
really
game.
Strong play.
Yeah, still a better game from Just the Tractor. So I mean, we can definitely see that the game is different for them. I would say that we can see improvement instantly. So I really hope to see these guys. I mean, I'm not gonna call it yet, but of course it really doesn't seem for the moment that they're gonna go forward for the semifinals for tomorrow. But I really hope that we're gonna see these guys on the Farming Simulator League during the upcoming season. But that's a different story. Let's focus on the game at hand. We still have about 2 minutes and 45 seconds to go. And Lindner, meanwhile, they are now leading by 200 points, and they still have the advantage from the multiplier. And what I can see here, next to the belt, that they are doing a better job also placing the bales around it. So I'm pretty sure that there was some feedback from the players that just don't leave them like that. Just put it there. That's easy for me to pick up, because you don't want to waste any time here. You have to have the bales like ready to go, just like Josh wants to have his pancakes, like ready to go, waiting for the fork to pick them up and just smash them into the mouth.
And yeah, the gap has widened now. It's, well, Lindner on double the points of Just a Tractor, and Just a Tractor are trying to get these bales in. They are going to score a higher game than they scored last time, and it looks like Lindner's is going to be slightly lower than last time. So that immediately shows that it's a better game from Just a Tractor. They have definitely played a tighter game, and you're right. I want to see more from this team, because a team that is able to tighten their game up and show this level of improvement between two games is good. It shows that there's potential there. It shows that they are able to come in and challenge and get better at doing it. So yeah, very much hoping to see more from them and see this improvement continue as they go through. They just need to tighten a few bits up, and their score will improve, and they'll be able to challenge teams like Lindner a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, of course, the whole situation when we spoke about the grain at the start of the game, that Just the Tractor, they needed to, improve on that area, and then Lindner also kind of like, wanted to counter that whole situation by also collecting more grain. So of course that time collecting the grain was away from something, and maybe that's gonna be me explaining the possible point difference. But anyways, 30 seconds to go. The last bales, we can see Marmos pushing one of the bales in. Oh, that's gonna be a problem.
Oh!
I mean, have you seen the kids playing?
That's not good.
At the yard. They have this I don't know what it's called, the swing. So maybe he's gonna be trying to file his childhood memories with the farming simulator as well. About 10 seconds to go. 900 points for Lindner, but Just the Track, they're also going almost to 500 points. So it's definitely a better series from them. And of course, this means that Lindner will be advancing for the semifinals for tomorrow. But still, I would say a great effort coming from Just the Track, and a great first showing here on the Farming Simulator League.
Yeah, good game there from Just a Tractor. Vast improvement over their first game there. Lindner being very, very good, very stable. 2 900-point games, looking good there. And look at that, even with that extra concentration on grain, they still were 7,000 liters less overall, which is just it's just amazing that Lindner were able to bring in that extra amount. But I think that comes down to the combines. They had 2 ideals and they had the John Deere, all 3 with massive grain tanks, all dumped at the same time into the silo. And Just a Tractor could not compete with that that little Russell Mash and the little Massey Ferguson. They just didn't have the capacity.
I think there was also something. I think the ratio, how much grain they delivered with the multiplier compared to the actual amount of collected. I think they utilized the ratio better. But anyways, that's the first series. Lindner's gonna go for the semifinals. We're gonna go for a short break, and we'll be back for the second game or the second series in about 5 minutes. So stay there. We'll be right back. And we are back. We had a short glimpse of Tractor there. Anyways, you guys got your entertainment as well. We did a bit of dad dancing or whatever. Anyways, I mean, the music came in, and we were just so excited, so we need to do something about it. But we are back. So the first series is settled. Lindner's going to be proceeding all the way to the semifinals, which are, by the way, starting tomorrow about 10:15 Central European time. And now the second game of today is going to be Astrogan versus Horny gang. And there's going to be some pretty familiar persons on the Horny gang. That's I would say some guys from the last year's winning team. And then, of course, Astrogan we know as well. So definitely a more established lineups battling. We're going to have the replays. Okay,
we got
so
some
let's
replays.
go through this.
So yeah, lots of mucking around on the front loader with flipping the bales. Bales falling off, which is something I didn't pick up during the match with just a tractor. And then we had the seesaw of the Deutz here as Marmus tries to make it over that bale. Yeah, and all in all, not a bad showing from just a tractor. Definite improvement over the two games. And yeah, would like to see more from them. I think that they have. I think if they can continue to analyze and improve, I think that there's a future for them in the FSL definitely.
Yeah, definitely. But anyways, the next match, like mentioned, Astrogan versus the Horny gang, and this will be definitely one of the, I would say, the most exciting matches of today. Of course, there's going to be other great matches as well, but definitely when you have the Astrogan, who did very well last season as well, they placed 8th, and then we have the Horny gang, which is the same roster as Trelleborg last year. So it will be kind of like the defending champion versus the 8th place team from the last season.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting seeing the Horny gang not playing under the Trelleborg banner, of course. Seeing if that makes a huge difference. I don't think it will. They're very good players, very good games, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether Astrogan can topple last year's champions and make it through to the semi-finals today.
Yes, so there we go. The familiar faces. We can see the new shirts on the HG Horny gang, and I mean these will be interesting, these bans and picks, because we know that Horny gang, they has always been kind of like, in a way, a masterminds of the game. They have introduced a lot of new strategies, a lot of new tricks. So probably they have found something on these new rules regarding the picks and the bans and the perks as well. So let's just follow this with a very, very close eye.
Oh, that's the first time we've seen the G Series Valtra banned this, well, for quite a while, actually. So Horny gang going in there and making some interesting bans straight off the bat. The Massey Ferguson we've seen banned a couple of times. We did see it used last match as well. So it is a tractor that get used. And it looks like Horny gang are very much trying to prevent the use of the care-wheeled tractors. So we'll see what effect that has on Astrogan's picks. In fact, yeah, there we go. All of the care-wheel tractors, I think, have been banned.
There we go. And now it's going to be time for the captain's picks. So we shall see what will be chosen. Herbicide. That's, I would say, interesting, but they're baiting as always. We have seen that on the past as well. So, and we can see that the Astrogan, they try to do something as well. But both will, sorry, not both. We can see Astrogan going for the unstoppable, and then we had a bottleneck on the Horny gang side. So let's see what's going to be the players' picks then. And we can see 12 points remaining for Astrogan, by the way, and 10 points only for Horny gang. So this is not going to be as easy as it might seem, that you're just going to click something, but you have to make the right choices. Of course, John Deere's runners, at least for the moment, for Elite Cafe and JK. And then we'll see what's going to be coming from Major Melon, Calamaras, We have Paul on the Horny Gang side, and of course Beatmaster. So these will be the lineups for today.
Very, very well matched at the moment, which we kind of seen between these two teams when they played last season. Very much, matching each other. Although we do have different team perks, interestingly, and we ended up with slightly different selections. Last moment, Paul changing his tractor to the Deutz-Fahr, and Beatmaster bringing out that Valtra T-Series.
Well, there we go, and now it's gonna be time for the lovely rush hour at the start. So we'll see. I mean, on the first game of the last series, we didn't see much of battles, but on the second game, we did. So let's see. We can see Major Melon flipping the tractor immediately on the gate. We can see Calamara is just getting away from it, and yeah, we can see. There's a slight of a battle, but immediately Horny Gang will just proceed as they will realize that they are gonna be late from that pad. So that is the one of the bailers gonna be secured. We can see Major Melon coming for it. We can see Paul already heading towards the fields, and JK is there already producing the grain. And then we can see how the bales are gonna be pressed immediately after it. So I mean, always excited about these first bales. It seems that Major Melon might be a little bit late. He's now heading to the field, so definitely it seems that Horny Gang is going to be getting the first bale. And remember, 14-minute mark is the magical time. That's about 140 points. So this is getting somewhere around that ballpark, depending how the swing is going to go. And Paul, he's not going to swing it. He's going to reverse it in, so it's going to be 138 maybe. Yes, exactly. So that is the first bale, and Horny Gang will take the initial lead.
And they're coming in now. They are going for the flick, maybe? No, they're not. Oh, they've misjudged it, and it's dropped the bale early. That's not good for Astrogan. They're going to have to spin back round and try and push that in, losing valuable seconds.
Oops.
And no, with that tractor, it's really difficult.
Yeah, they are trying, definitely. There we go, 106. And then, definitely losing some very important time there as well. So it's not just the points, 32 points. So based on the calculations of Alex, that's about 1.6 bales, right? The difference. That is just my my math on my head this time, so I don't have my famous Excel sheet with me.
Roughly a bale and a half. And yeah, Astrogan behind now. They've only just picked up their grain cart out. Meanwhile, Horny Gang have half emptied already. They're going to have to come in and try and catch this up.
Yeah, both teams, I mean, as we can expect, the grain collection is underway. Horny Gang having a slight advantage there, about 5k for the moment, but in the end, it all depends how much they are planning to gather, because the difference is so small. So it comes to the strategy, not the actual execution on this situation. And silo closed, direct delivery, so I guess both teams are just going to go for the silo closed once again. And we can see Elite Cafe just going to pick that up. We can see Paul just arriving right next to the silo. I don't know what was the plan. Did they actually plan to deliver, or did they plan to do something else? Anyways, both sides will pick up the silo close. So also Horny Gang will take that couple seconds later. So no grain will be delivered for a while. And once again, I guess, as we know that on the next drop there cannot be a silo closed anymore, so then I guess we don't see any grain drops coming before the 8-minute mark. But of course, I mean, there can be something different happening, so maybe they want to deliver a couple bales like very early, but we don't see the bales being pressed, so increasing the multiplier for the moment doesn't make much of a sense.
And in this current setup, Horny Gang actually are slightly better off. They have both the ideal combines. They've also got this fairly large case combine that they're going to be able to fill all of those and drop them off at the silo to score the most they can with the grain. As a result, Astrogan is slightly behind or slight disadvantage. Yes, they've got the new Holland that has a good sized grain tank, but the only combines left after that are the John Deere, if it's available, the Massey Ferguson, uh, or the Rostelmash. If it's the Massey Ferguson or the Rostelmash, they end up getting as their third combine. That is going to be a problem because they are going to have less grain available to them than Horny Gang are. If that John Deere is there and they can grab it, then they'll be in a much better position.
And there we go, belt being stopped. So we do see actually a delivery of grain before the 8-minute mark, so I was completely wrong about that. So once again, these teams are showing that they will find something else to do than the expected one. And, well, I mean, both teams will unload it, so it's going to be going back to 2.0. The belts are on the move. But, of course, Astrogan, they do have a lot faster belt. Okay, not that much, by the way. Sorry, complete mistake there by reading the stats. So, but yeah, there we go. So both teams, I mean, they did park right next to the silo, kind of like maybe gave an impression that, you know, they're not gonna start delivering, but immediately when the silo closed, they actually went out. They started to deliver. We even saw Paul actually reversing the trailer just a little bit, in a way, like giving an idea that they might be building some kind of a setup, so they will just leave it there and, you know, come with the harvesters and the combines and bring more grain and start like flooding it in later on. But that didn't happen. Beatmaster waiting for Paul, and Paul's gonna catch up. They're not gonna miss any single bit of a grain, and they're gonna collect all of that. And with the current situation, I mean, both teams pretty tight. I think both teams, they have pressed a couple of bales on the way. The multipliers are the same. And the grain count, as soon as we're gonna see it, there we go. Yeah, slight advantage for Horny Gang, but that's pretty much it. So, okay, it's not slight, it's actually 6k, but once again, we have 30 seconds for the next drop. And pending what's gonna come from there and what is the strategy, then I guess the end game will start unveiling itself in, I would say, in a couple minutes.
Yeah, both teams now setting up with those grain carts ready for that 8-minute drop. 10 seconds away from it, a little bit emptied out by Major Man, just to make enough space for the combines to unload there as well. And we've got the 8-minute drop right now. Bale multiplier versus grain multiplier. Now that's a tough choice. I think long-term, grain multiplier is probably the better choice to go with there. It means that you can end up with a higher, longer-term multiplier. Both teams, though, aren't going to get that till the last moment because they want to maximize how long they have it for, and hopefully prevent their opponents from getting it as well.
I mean, getting the bale multiplier at this point is, I mean, they don't have bales, 1 and 2. Doesn't make much of a sense. And of course, even if you would have the bales, and if the opponent goes for the grain multiplier and you don't, then you definitely gonna be losing the advantage on the multiplier later on. So yeah, I mean, going for the bale multiplier actually is a pretty high risk, and both teams, as we can see, they will just go for it. Grain multiplier gonna be picked for the both sides about the same time. We can see that JK and Horny Gang, they have a multiplier of 1.5, and it should be the same for Astrogan because they have the same amount. I think it's the same based on, no, it's gonna be 1.6 for Astrogan actually, so they have a slight advantage there. But the well, we'll see how much that's gonna make a difference. There could be that it will end up being a slightly more for Astrogan. But then it comes down to the efficiency around the belt area, how much bales actually Horny can can, deliver, and we know that they are very efficient on that one. But there we go, the unloading is happening, so we don't have to wait for a long time to see how the multiplier is going to be ending up. But yes, the grain multiplier, a slight advantage to Astrogan, they're 1.6, but then I didn't see the full amount of grain at the same time, how much they did. So we'll just have to wait until they have unloaded, and then we'll see where they're going to end up. But it should be close anyways.
And we've got, both teams coming in. JK bringing in bales now. Astrogan are able to score points quicker with the same multiplier, interestingly, because they have the unstoppable perk. Their belt is moving faster. Whose is that? Oh, that's Elite Cafe for Astrogan. Has had to run all the way up there to get the loading tractor. So they are quite a way away, and it's 1.9 to 2.1. Slightly more grain delivered by Horny Gang, but no, it's evened up. It's evened up exactly. So now it is just down to which team can get the most bales in, and the thing is, as on all things being equal, Astrogan have the advantage here. They can get bales up that conveyor quicker for the same amount of points. If they can get the bales in, then they can score those points quicker than Horny Gang can, and that will be a big advantage too.
Yeah, I think there was a bit of a mind game going on there, as Horny Gang, they didn't deliver all the grain like immediately when they got the multiplier. They left something like, was it like 15 or 25k there, in store. It could have been a different vehicle as well, but yeah, it took a while, so they didn't unload it immediately. And as soon as they started to unload it, then Astrogan just Empire Strikes Back, and they will put the rest of the stuff on the silo as well. And now both sides, I mean, they have been doing a great job by pressing the bales, 12 and 14 bales, so it's pretty even. But of course, Horny Gang are having already a lead of 100 points about. And we spoke about the efficiency around the belt, how good they have been on the past. So keeping that lead only means that you will just, have to do your job. The multiplier switch on the 4th minute drop doesn't make much of a sense, because the multipliers are the same, so they're not going to waste the time to go and pick that up. And now we can see Beatmaster coming from the, I guess we can still call it the safer route, even though the introduction video has been changed. And for a time being, we also saw Paul actually taking a bit of a scenic route by going on that bridge. So he didn't want to go with the very hard turn on the right. He actually decided to go from the other side of the tree and have let's say a better angle while approaching the apex of that bridge.
And here's an issue that Astrogan has that Horny Gang doesn't. Astrogan only have one bale stacking tractor. So while Horny Gang are able to go out with their stacking tractor, grab bales, and still have the other, have the Valtra putting bales on, as you can see Paul doing right now, and they can continue to score points. Astrogan cannot do that. So the whole time that their stacking tractor is out there, they have just bales piling up and up and up, and they aren't scoring points. And this is why we actually see more bales sticking around for Astrogan at the moment than we do for Horny, because Horny are constantly loading bales onto their conveyor. They've got the tractor coming back with that bale every so often, and this tractor can bring back 5 bales at a time as well, so they're able to get more bales back as well. It's going to be interesting, because I think Horny Gang are just scoring so many points.
There was a bit of a communication problem, as we saw that they tried to go for the same bridge. Didn't happen though, but they lost some time. They had a lot of bales in those 2 vehicles, and then they just stopped just before the bridge. So they lost some time, and Astrogan, we can see Elite Cafe just working around the belt, 3 bales inside, a nice stack of bales on the both sides of the belt. So stacking those up shouldn't be much of a problem. But also, of course, Horny Gang, they are doing a great job by doing the same thing exactly, and they are leading by 200 points. So of course, I would say that to change the situation, it would need a pretty big mistake from Horny Gang's side, and we very rarely see those happening. I think on the last tournament of the season and the second last, we saw some happening, but not that much. It's good to remember that these guys, they won, was it like 5 out of 6 online tournaments before the grand final last season. So never underestimate these guys. And just a couple minutes ago, we saw that there was about 3,500 points, and I was actually thinking to myself that, okay, this might not be one of those like high point games, but you never know from these guys. They will just start stacking the bales and the points at the end game, and then they are just showing that they can still surprise even without the perks, even without the multipliers. Jake is still reaching out for that one final bale on top of the other one, so that's going to be 40 points on the belt right there, so that's going to bring them already close to 700, and the lead is now about 150 points for them.
And yeah, both teams here are really good teams, and this is the thing. As you're saying, you get to the last minute and there's not a huge amount of points on the board, and then you get into these last 30 seconds and they just start loading more and more bales on quicker and quicker, and the points just keep going up. And Paul coming on there, trying to get that last bale in, trying to push them up. They're going in for a 788 win for Horny Gang. Great play there from them.
Yeah, I mean, definitely well done.
And
nothing that special about it, just a hard grind and, making sure that they will get all the points available.
And, Astrogan looking a little bit deflated. They delivered more grain, without multipliers. They delivered slightly less with multipliers, but it was all pretty even overall. Just so many more bales there from Horny Gang, and we saw them do this the entirety of the last season, just producing more bales and scoring with them, and that's how they were beating team after team after team.
I think that the whole grain situation, I mean, both teams actually did deliver some grain before they got the multiplier. So I don't know if the difference happened there. But also, when they got the multipliers, we saw Horny Gang to deliver it, and then kind of like Astrogan reacting to it, on the later stages of the perk. So it could have been that they all the grain available, they didn't actually deliver during the multiplier advantage. So it could have been that, a couple thousand has been, just poured to the silo after it, that they kind of like, because it took a while to react to the situation. So they might, that's probably the idea how Horny Gang wanted to play it, that they will just unload it on the very last seconds while the perk was still active.
But it's interesting seeing that, in all fairness, neither of the team perks that they picked made much difference. It was, while it disrupted Horny Gang a little bit to have Unstoppable, it meant they couldn't really take their multiplier above 2.5 because it would stop their belt. At the same time, everything ended up evening up. The bales weren't coming in for Astrogan. So their advantage of their Unstoppable belt and their faster belt made no difference because there weren't the bales there to score with that speed. I think it was a fairly even matchup between the two teams, and Horny Gang does what they do best. They pressed more bales, scored more points, and at the end of the day, that's how you win FSL matches. Press more bales, score more points.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, the second game of the series is coming up, as we know, and of course, Astrogan, they got to find a way if they want to push this all the way to the third game of the series. We keep telling the same, but quite often when you have an opponent like Horny Gang, who, all the tournaments last season, of course, they are the current champion, but then also they've won 5 out of 6 online tournaments. On the one which they didn't win, they managed to still get the bronze medal, so third place from that tournament. So they have been placing top 3 all last year. And Astrogan on the other side, they made it to the semis, I think, 3 times. So they didn't get any top 3 places last year. So, of course, Horny Gang, they have a slight advantage here. But we'll see. Astrogan, a great effort once again from them. They were not that far away, a couple hundred points. So it wasn't like a devastating loss for them or a or a huge, like a ruling victory for Horny Gang. It was a pretty even still in the end. And we saw that 200 or 150 point gap already building up on the middle gameplay. It wasn't about the last 30 seconds. It wasn't about the efficiency on the belt. So in a way, this is something that you can adjust with the strategy. Of course, you need to know where to adjust it as well. And I don't have the answers, but still, I think that there is a way around this.
So, going into the second game, Horny Gang banning first. And they've gone for the big Valtra this time. Astrogan going for quite a disruption by banning the two little front-loaded tractors with the manure fork. So, making it harder for Horny Gang to get lots of bales back at once. They'll be down to only being able to do 2 at a time rather than 3. And a second big tractor banned by Horny Gang as well. So a very, very different setup for the ban phase here.
I mean, it must be, because the perks gotta be different as well. So you gotta find something to do with it. Let's see the team perks. So we had Unstoppable and Bottleneck. And we had a Bottleneck on, was it on Horny Gang's side? We had Unstoppable on the Astrogan side. And let's see how Horny Gang's going to be baiting us this time. They actually will go with the herbicide. They actually go with the herbicide. They were not baiting this time.
This is going to be a very different match. Without herbicide, they are going to go through and they are going to create as much grain and as much straw as they can in some really straight lines. And as a result, they might create a little bit more. It'll be interesting to see what effect it has. On both teams going for a telehandler as well.
In about 15 minutes, we know what they have planned.
Why has Pool gone for the Puma when they have herbicide? It's my next question. They don't need a care wheel tractor, and surely a more powerful tractor would be more useful.
Well,
I'm surprised they've picked that over the Valtra.
Yeah, beats me, to be honest. But yeah, both sides, they have the telehandlers. So I guess we need to find a new way for that toss as well, as the team name is different. So we'll come up with something if that happens. So let's see. But I mean, every time when they have had the telehandler, we know what has been happening with it. We can see Major Melon. He's going to go for the pass. Going to take the new Holland baler. Meanwhile, we can see Horny Gang going for Beatmaster's going to pick that up, the harvester from that pad.
I'm going to christen it the Honing Hurl.
Honing Hurl, okay. But is it like a Honig is like honey in German, right? So it's like a honey gang in English.
Honig, honey. Oh right, yeah. Honig Hurl.
Could be just educated guess here, based on what I have seen on the product labels here in Finland from the honey produced in Germany.
I think that is the best I can come up with on the fly like that.
I think it's a pretty good one, so we can definitely use that one. I think it's, I mean, I didn't come up with anything, and you know me, I always come up with something, so I was just so slow, so you can definitely claim this one. So there we go, we have a new name for it, so when that's going to happen, I'm going to trust you, Alex, to use that as well. Meanwhile, the first bales are building up. It's going to be slower than last game, so as we can see, 13:45 on the clock. Major Malone, it should be actually, it could be Astrogan winning the first bale, but it's not going to go inside. It's going to go right in front of the barn, and Paul will just take the, I'm not going to call it the safer route, but he's going to take the safer approach, and Major Malone needs to go around, and there we go. 7-point difference, gets almost the baler stuck in the belt in front of the barn, but this is something which doesn't happen that often, that Horny Gang, they will lose the first bale, because these are the guys who have been setting the pace with the first bale, just, you know, reaching to the new scores and higher limits, and kind of like setting the bar for everybody else how you should do the first bale. So getting something, let's say, you know, less than 130 points is kind of, but they will still win it though. I was wrong about that one, so they will still win it, but only with 7 points.
Also, I realised my mistake. The care wheel tractors have nothing to do with weeds at all, of course. It's all about being able to drive through the crop without getting slowed down and without damaging it. And so that is the reason to pick up that case tractor, because you can drive through crop with it, especially if you've got the case baler as well. Think about both the case and the new Holland balers. They have care wheels on them for the FSL, so you are able to drive those balers through the crop without any issue.
Well, 12-minute drops. Let's see what we have here. Still waiting for the text to emerge on my screen from these, but the bridge is raised and herbicide. Oh. So Elite Coffee is gonna go for it. And let's see what the Horny gang, which was by the way confirmed by the chat that it is Honey. So we'll see what they are planning here. Maybe they will not go for a perk at all, because we haven't seen anybody going for it. Because Major Melon approaching the silo. We can see also Horny gang following with the same figures, and the unloading will start. We don't have a silo close or anything grain related on those drops, so they will just start unloading it, and I guess they're trying to get some kind of early advantage with the multiplier. Paul just, you know, making sure that everything goes smoothly and nicely in. And it's funny, Alex, that when we actually, I mean, we had the first thing we saw was, you know, these guys from Horny gang, and immediately when we saw the telehandler, we knew that we need to come up with a new name, and the chat actually had the almost the same idea, and they almost came up with the same solution as well as we came, or you came.
I was going to say,
so instead they used the Horny gang
coming up with exactly the same name.
Yeah, so I guess there was a saying, something like great minds think alike. So I think that is definitely applying here, and it's lovely to see Felden and you know, yours and everybody who was here last year as well, finding the same guys from the chat. I have definitely been missing this out, so thank you for being there.
Yeah, welcome back, everybody. I hope you guys are excited to see the episode. It's absolutely fantastic.
Well, 10 minutes on the clock. And yeah, I mean, no bales, grain is being delivered. They will end up with the same multipliers as well, so you know, nothing that devastating for either of the teams. I guess the Beatmaster just kind of like, you know, walking on that huge field. Major Melon seems to be heading towards the silo, about 1 minute and 40. So we haven't seen anything, you know, disruptive regarding the grain game. And all the games, I mean, all the matches before this today, there has been always like a silo closed or grain multiplier in some of the drops, and we haven't yet seen it. So I would say that there's a good chance that it can be there, but of course it's not guaranteed. But I'm pretty sure the teams are going to be betting on it. Horny gang with about 50k, they will not wait for it, they will just start unloading immediately. Maybe they are feeling secure that they have more grain than the other team, that they can just, you know, kind of like, you know, use it a little bit more right now before the perks. Let's see if that's going to be a thing later on, because they're actually unloading it. Well, okay, they made it like 2.2. They don't have the bales, so they didn't like you know, deliver it too much. But you know, that 10k can be something that can decide the multiplier in the end, especially if in 40 seconds we do have a drop that is actually somehow affecting that situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there the extra grain there though for Astrogan to even things out here? The 1.8 is not great for them at the moment. It's not harming them for now, because for some reason Honig are not scoring bales. And rarely do we see a team like this scoring bales at this point. Bridges lowers and silo closed. Now, if Astrogan can deliver some grain and then close Honig's silo, that could be a game changer.
Yeah, that is definitely something that can work. In the end, I guess both are going to go for it. So, I mean, and of course, Horny Gang having a 2.2 multiplier. So there we go. Major Melon's going to go and pick that up immediately. And he's going to be there before the Horny Gang. No, he's not going to go for it yet. So they will wait. Or I think that's a risky thing to do, to wait too much. Because the Horny Gang, they already have the multiplier.
Now they need to close the silo.
They are actually delivering the grain. They are getting the multiplier. Paul is going to go for the silo closed. And he's going to pick that up. There we go. A nice jump out of the vehicle. Will immediately stop the delivery process for Astrogan. And now the question is that can Horny Gang themselves deliver anything? No, they don't have the time. We can see that this is going to be picked by Astrogan as well.
No.
So they don't have the time. And for a time being, for the next about 80 seconds, Astrogan will have a slight advantage, and they do have the bales as well. So now it's going to be time to go for that barn and start doing the work and delivering them. There we go.
They need to score bales now while they have this advantage. Get in there, get those bales on there, and get it scored.
Yeah, 45 seconds, 7 bales. Is there anything happening around the belt area? I think there is. I'm trying to look it from the map. I can't really see that there's much of an activity. There we go, Elite Cafe. So he will try to they will try to copy Horning's hurl. Let's see if there's going to be any of those delivered, because JK, he's going to go for a round, maybe. We'll see what's the plan. Oh, there we go, Elite Cafe will not go for the toss. He's going to put 2 bales. So this is the time when they can still use the 2.2 multiplier, 44 points on that belt. And that should be taking them definitely to the lead with the second bale just about to come inside as well. Fun 154, we can see the unloading starting immediately at the same time as well. This is going nicely for Astrogan, because I think they have put a couple more bales on that belt. And now with this multiplier, they're going to be making even bigger. There we go, 2 bales on that belt. And that's going to be 2.6. That is 52 points on that belt. And somehow it seems that Astrogan, they have found the Achilles heel of Horny Gang with these perks. As we can see Beatmaster just trying to unload and make the multiplier less. We can see 200 points for Astrogan already. I think there's a 1 more bale on that belt, so it's going to be about 221 exactly when they will get the second bale inside as well. But Horny Gang, meanwhile, I mean, they are just stuck with the situation. No bales at all on the belt.
And this is what Astrogan want to do. While they have these advantages in multiplier, they want to be scoring these points. And they have been. This is what we talk about so often, is if you've got the multiplier in your favor, score some bales, get some points on the board with it. And now you can see things are even up. It's gone Honing Gang's way. Can Astrogan deliver some more grain? No, they have no grain. So this has completely gone in the other direction now. And Astrogan have scored some points while they had advantage from the multiplier, but they are going to lose 4 points for every bale they deliver in comparison to Honig Gang now. So they've got to really press bales hard.
Yeah, Lord Baylor, Major Mill,
and they've got Lord Baylor.
Yeah, that is 2 bales for them. Okay, so what I want to see here is how Hornig's gonna resolve the situation. We have said it multiple times that they have the efficiency, so now they just need to get those bales next to the belt. And I mean, the point difference is about 50 points, so this is definitely doable. One mistake for either side can kind of like, you know, finalize the whole situation or the final match. But yeah, this is gonna be definitely getting very close. And will this be one of those well, those games when Alex is gonna be losing his voice when the final bales are on the belt, we shall see.
And the gap has closed now between Horny Gang and Astrogan.
Definitely has.
Slightly worrying.
It is. I mean, every time. I mean, Horny Gang is. I think that's one of those teams they have made most comebacks in any of the series which we have broadcasted, because the end game efficiency is just so good. And even when Astrogan had a 50-point lead earlier, I was still saying that, you know, they still have a chance, and if they can now make the situation pretty much tied, of course it depends like how many bales you have on the belt. There's already a couple on the Horny Gang's belt, so that should be actually putting them pretty much tied with Astrogan. I think with the 1 point difference, and of course Elite Cafe is doing the job as well. But I think Horny Gang still has more bales available than Astrogan, so if they can get all these bales in from the both sides with these multipliers currently in play, I mean, of course they're not going to change anymore. So I think that Horny Gang, I wouldn't be surprised if they will claim a victory from this one as well. And if they will do that, I mean, Astrogan did a great trick there on the middle of the game, but still Horny somehow, if they're still able to come back from that situation, as it seems, it is, you can definitely say that these guys are back in shape, or they have never, like, you know, gone out of shape at all. So they are just getting it, and there we go, Horny Gang. It's a 1 point difference now. We'll just get a one more bale for Astrogan, so it's about 20 points, a couple more bales in, but we still have 1 minute and 30 seconds on the clock.
Astrogan, I was about to say Astrogan are managing to maintain their lead, but Horny Gang now going into the lead. And the big advantage Horny Gang have at the moment is this, with seeing at the moment with Paul. He has a front loader on the front of that tractor, so he's able to bring in 2 more bales on every run than Astrogan is able to. And as a result, that is one of the secrets to why Horny Gang are so good at getting bales in at the end of these matches, because they can bring in 5 bales when everybody else is bringing in 3. And those 2 extra bales every time just make a massive, massive difference. And you can see it now as they're pulling out a sizable lead, 40 points ahead. It's been evened up, but again, Horny delivering more bales, scoring more points. Astrogan need to get as many bales in this last 30 seconds as they can. It's going between the 2 teams, and this is a wonderfully close match at the moment. Astrogan again back into the lead, but JK loading more bales onto the belt, and Horny Gang back in the lead. 15 seconds left on the clock. Major Melon bringing more bales in, but so many bales there for Horny Gang. It's 6:17 to 6:36, 6:27 to 6:80, and there we go. Horny Gang pulling away at the end to take it to 720 points there, I think. Amazing play from both teams, but once again, Horny Gang showing why they won everything last season, almost everything last season. Really, really great play from them. Only 1 bale difference this time, though. So that is really amazing. That's just down to the multiplier and delivering 20,000 more liters with a multiplier than their opponents did. Wow.
I think in the end, I mean, we saw that they had more bales. So Horny Gang, I mean, they had about, I think, like 5-6 bales more available than the opposing team at that point. So Astrogan, they didn't have the bales anymore. We saw when we had about 20 seconds remaining on the clock that they were just waiting for the bales to come next to the belt, and Astrogan had nothing to do. They didn't have anything to put on the belt, and meanwhile we just saw that there was just, you know, this endless flow of bales for the Horny Gang. And then, of course, at the end game, there was a couple of bales coming for Astrogan. They got a couple, you know, maybe 40 more points or something like that. But then, you know, then Horny Gang just came with the from all the directions at the same time, and they managed to do like 100 points in 5 seconds or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely incredible game from both teams. We are going to be heading for a break in a moment. We will see you shortly.
championship.
There's no denying what we want. There's no denying what we want. Playing games now. There's no denying what we want. There's no denying what we want. Playing games now. There's no denying what we want. There's no denying what we want. Playing games now. There's no denying what we want. There's no denying what we want. Playing games now.
There's no denying what we want. There's no denying what we want. Playing games, no. There's no denying what we want. There's no denying what we want. Playing games, no. There's no denying what we want. There's no denying what we want. Playing games, no. There's no denying what we want. There's no denying what we want. Playing games, no.
Welcome back, everybody. Wow, what a fantastic couple of matches we've had so far today on the FSL Easter Challenge. Absolutely amazing battle between Astrogan and Horny there. Really close game, the second one. Down to the same number of bales, just down to that multiplier at the end. Made a really big difference.
Definitely. I mean, we didn't see any of the tosses, though. I'm a bit disappointed, to be honest, that we didn't get to use the new name that much. But anyways, I mean, telehandlers were being used, but in a way, it's kind of like, a small turn down when you see the telehandlers and you're waiting to see something, spectacular happening with them, but then nothing. I mean, we saw a couple of times even when they were like going straight towards the belt, but then, okay, let's just, slow things down and just, place them nicely on the belt.
Maybe they're saving it for tomorrow's semi-finals. Bring it out when it really counts, and when they need to get those extra points in the last few moments. But yeah, just really good matches so far today. 4 great teams. We're gonna have a quick look at some replays from the last match. And the first one here is a few bits of coming together on Honig's side, delaying them ever so slightly, but not causing a huge issue. Some good triple bale picking up here from JK, getting as many bales back as he can at once, which is always good to see. At this point, of course, we also had the grain multiplier going on, which kept the teams very even.
Yeah, actually, some of the mistakes as well. Some bits and pieces we actually missed. I mean, I don't think that we saw that Horny Gang's a bit of a problem with the combine and the tractor there on the fields. So yeah, that's nice to see. And there we can see some of the action, how the bales are going to be put on the belt by the by Astrogan. But anyways, so those were the replays. That is done. We know that we will see Horny Gang tomorrow on the Grand Finals, which will start tomorrow, once again, 10:15 Central European Time on the same channel. Make sure to follow the channels, and of course, you'll find more information from the social medias. But then, towards the next match. And I said from the last game, it's one of the most exciting and the most expected ones, of course, to see Horny Gang, how they will perform. But the next one, it's not going to be any worse, to be honest.
No, absolutely not. We've got up next new Holland versus My Insanity, which is going to be a cracking game, I think. Both two really good teams, both with a lot of experience in the FSL. No secret who I would be looking at on this one. My favorite brand is now in the FSL, and I couldn't be happier. But I think that My Insanity's gonna give them a good run for their money. My Insanity's definitely being a strong team towards the end of last season. Definitely showing more and more improvement as the season went on, and yeah, we're competing to be the top team by the end of the season. So this is going to be a good game, a good match.
Yeah, New Holland last season, it was the only team besides the Horny Gang or Trelleborg, as they were last season, who actually made the top 3 all the games. So 6 online tournaments, they won the one which Horny Gang didn't win. They placed second 3 times, and they got also 2 times the 3rd place on the series. So all the 6 online tournaments they managed to get on the top 3, and they placed second on the Farming Simulator League last year. And then of course My Insanity, they have the stats of being a 3rd place runner-up 3 times last season, and then once 2 times the 2nd place, once time the 3rd place, and 1 time the 4th place. I was looking at the wrong row from the stats. Sorry about that one. But anyways, that is 4 times a top 4 finish for them, and they placed 3rd, and they had a difference about 180 points on the overall score. So 2nd and the 3rd place from the last season. So we can, I mean, based on the stats, we can say that these are the 2 teams who were just, following Horny Gang's performance. So in a way, like, the next two teams, the best teams out of top three.
Yeah, and I think it's going to show. I think I may well be screaming at the screen by the end of this match, because they both teams play a cracking game, and it's and as you said, the only team really to beat both of these teams well, especially New Holland, was Trelleborg last season, and Horny Gang being that team. They are going to be the ones that to beat later on, I think. But first, these two teams have got to get past each other, and I think it's going to be a hard fight for both of them.
Definitely, I'll be waiting very anxiously to hear you screaming. Definitely. I mean, I was watching a horror movie a couple of weeks ago, and those ladies are screaming there always. So that always reminds me from Alex. I can't help it. Like, oh, Alex is there.
Yeah, a little bit. I get a little bit excitable. I get a little bit excitable from time to time. I'm getting tongue-tied this morning. I'm just so excited to have this back. It's been 5 months since the FSL final, and I love this, and the fact that we're back and we're on the verge of the new season kicking off. It's going to be awesome, and it's just fantastic to have it back. I'm loving the matches we've had.
Yeah, just wait for the info from the upcoming season. It's gonna be good. So very excited about it myself, and I hope that you're gonna be as well when the info's gonna be released about it. So then we'll see a lot of things to change, I think. Anyways, we're still waiting for the next match to start, and we know what it's gonna be. Of course, when it comes to the perks, we saw quite different strategies there once again. I mean, if you kind of like follow the performance of Horny Gang, then you can maybe expect that what might be coming from New Holland and Mind Sanity as well. I don't know if you're going to be seeing Herbicide there, but I think in the end, the Herbicide, it still worked. I mean, they had more bales in the end, and that kind of like, sealed the game for Horny Gang on the second match of the series. So would you say, Alex, that the Herbicide did have an impact on it?
I think to a certain extent it did. I think that they, I think being able to drive in straighter lines, I think it produced more grain for them. And that's what gave them that advantage in the grain multiplier at the end of it. I really think that made a big difference to them. But we have New Holland versus Mind Sanity up now, and immediately New Holland are out, banning the Manitou, taking that off the table.
Yeah, look at the lineup. So we have Jan, Hannes, and PB400 for Mind Sanity, and then for the New Holland we have Signis, Tita, and El Rhodes. So that kind of a lineups for the first match or the first tournament of the season. And the bans are going in. We can see at least one of the telehandlers being banned, and the second one is going to follow as well from the New Holland side. And then we have Case, Puma, and Fend. So the narrow wheel tractors banned by Mind Sanity on the other side. So that is a more traditional ban, I would say. Those were I would say the most popular bans last season, if I'm not completely mistaken. I mean, it's still 5 months when they ended the season, so excuse me if my memory is not right.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That is the kind of ban setup we saw throughout last season. Take out most of the care wheel tractors, take out the telehandlers, and stump the teams that way. We see both teams going for bottlenecks, so both teams pulling out the most popular team perks straight off the bat for this match. So it's going to be a very interesting second match when they can't pick bottleneck anymore. Both teams not choosing a player perk straight off. Tita going for the John Deere, or the Little John Deere, whereas Haynes going for the Massey Ferguson. And yet there comes the Little John Deere and the Massey Ferguson either way. So very, very similar setups between these two teams. The only difference between them being that Deutzfahr and that Valtra. Both fast powerful tractors, those two. So not a lot in it. So it will be very much down to which equipment the teams can grab early on. The thing to watch here is definitely which combines. There is the John Deere and the Ideal are both up for grabs. And Tita has got a good start, heading straight for that Ideal. Whereas Jan is going for the case baler. That, of course, has the care wheels on it. And no! Who's that? Who's beaten? So My Insanity blocked from the Ideal Combine. New Holland managing to claim it. New Holland have managed to claim the case baler, though. And that big Crone baler, too.
Yeah, one interesting thing is that I mean, I think all the matches that have started today, somebody has been crashing to the gate, to the side of the gate. I don't know if there's probably nothing has changed that much from the last season, but it's strange to see that every start we have seen, everybody has been, crashing to the side of the gate, like almost like seeming that they have underestimated the steering range or something like that. Anyways, we can see L Rhodes here putting the first bale.
Wow.
So it's gonna be New Holland with 140. That is the fastest bale of the whole day so far. So that is a great start because Jan following up, but that's not going to be that great. It's going to be, I would say, 120 something.
That 140 was scored and they missed. They tried to toss it in and they missed. Whereas My Insanity actually getting the toss fine, but are 19 points behind. So really, really fast start there from New Holland. And a tiny little mistake cost them probably a couple more bail points, but still scoring on 140 is impressive. My Insanity a little bit slower in with that first bail, but managing to get the drive-by to work, and as a result didn't lose too much. Jan having to drive a long way through that crop, though, to get to that overloader. And that's not great planning on their part. Really slowed them down and lost them quite a little bit of crop. New Holland already unloading and managing to keep nicely on track. That should mean they have a little bit more grain than My Insanity off the bat.
One thing that I have been wondering here is that last season and of course today as well, I mean, when the teams are choosing the perks, we have seen some teams that they are, baiting a little bit there. And now when the both teams, they have bottlenecks. So, I mean, these new strategies and everything, it's a pretty safe bet to follow the other team to take the same perk that, in a way, you don't do like a strategic mistake at the start. So now we have both teams with a bottleneck. But because I have never, I'll be honest, I have never played a competitive FSL match myself, so I have never been on that lobby on the selection process. So do you know, Alex, how much lag there actually is? Like that if you want to bait a perk and then you want to choose something else on the last minute, is there like is it like a solid choice, or is there some kind of a delay that when you click you have to do it like 1 second on the counter or something? Because I think that with these changes, the perks, if the baiting actually works, because you kind of have a limited amount of the perks, it's an element that can actually have a more impact if the baiting actually works.
I think that I probably wouldn't leave it to the absolutely last moment. I'd probably do it with a couple of seconds on the clock. I think if I left it to a second, just even your normal reactions, you've got to be quick to hit in that last second and hope everything works. I'm not sure how good the baiting is, especially when you've got a setup like this where both teams are playing very much what I would have called the standard tactic for last season. Bottleneck was definitely the most picked team perk last season, and this is definitely a very standard strategy both teams are using here at the moment. I think the game that's going to be interesting here is going to be what happens second match.
Yeah,
when
exactly.
neither team
you cannot
can
choose the
pick this
usual
strategy.
perk anymore. then you and then I think that when kind of like if we, let's say the last game of the best of 3 series, when they have played their, let's say, primary perks already, and then they have to choose something which probably they haven't played that much, and then that's what I mean, that the safe strategy would be to follow the other team. But okay, we're gonna figure that out, and of course the whole team perk and the player perk thing is gonna be very exciting tomorrow. At least in the grand final, if we go, let's say, to the 4th or the 5th game of the series, because then, the teams are running out of the perks, because there's more matches on the series. But anyways, we can speculate that later, and maybe we'll need to ask from JK or somebody, because they always have a very nice information about all these small details of the game. But there we go. We do have 4.5 minutes on the clock, and if we just have a quick look what's going on here, so we can see My Insanity now unloading it. They are closing to 3.0, and that is, well, they got to stop it on 2.8. We can see also New Holland moving the grain around the silos. Both teams, by the way, have been pressing the bales. I think New Holland had 2 bales, My City has 3. The grain collection is going on, and of course we are now waiting for the 8-minute drop, which is in 1 minute. So once again, teams will have to make the decision: will they start unloading it before or after? And Mines, and they made the choice to do it before, which means that New Holland, they should have more grain on store, depending, of course, what is the collection strategy in general. We can see Tita, and we can see, of course, the support for Tita happening there on the chat as well. Spam this Peter to help Tita. So the spam has been done, Tita has been helped, and now it's going to be time for to perform. And those setups are starting to form once again around the silos. And New Holland 3 bales as well. I think both teams now have about 3 bales, so they're pretty much even. It's not a huge factor when it comes to the actual amount of bales on the end game, but if they will be able to somehow, I will not say exploit the multiplier, but in a way gain the advantage here on the mid game, and then those 3 bales, if you can deliver them at the right time, it can actually cause a reasonable difference on the points.
That's the thing. If this, it's not grain multiplier. That would have been an amazing play from New Holland. If this had been grain multiplier, they would have been absolutely laughing. As it is, they have got 3 combines there. They've got the 3 biggest combines there, delivering grain, which is gonna be a huge amount of grain that they deliver all at once. Is it enough to get an advantage over My Insanity? We will find out in a moment. I think My Insanity do have the case combine, which is not small, but they don't have a third one kicking about. They did deliver early, and they have managed, and they have picked bridges lowered, so they're gonna have all of New Holland are going to have all of their bridges lowered and be able to get the bales in there. And in fact, I think Tita is about to do that thing that I wish all teams would do, and that is score points while the multiplier is in their favor. They've got a 2.2 times multiplier, 2.3. Tita coming in and loading bales on now. If he scores 3 bales at 2.4 or 2.5, that would be amazing. Looks like he might do it at 2.4, and PB is on his back. That is not good. Valuable seconds lost, and can he get his weight back?
Yeah, well, at least he got away from it. I think he will get it, but yeah, they will score the points, so New Holland will get those bales in. My Insanity was also unloading at the same time, but they were just not fast enough, and there's still some grain in the store, so they're gonna end up pretty much with the same multipliers as we can see. So 2.0 for the both sides. So New Holland, they will definitely take the advantage from this moment, and they will get those 3 bales in. And meanwhile, they have been also pressing more bales, so 12 bales in store for New Holland. And well, as soon as we're gonna see it, I don't think that My Insanity has as many as them. So definitely New Holland, they have the lead, and they are kind of like leading on the bales as well. El Road's going to be bringing more. Tito's going to put something on the belt. We still have plenty of time on the clock remaining, but this whole mid-game delivery process, I think that New Holland, they didn't get like a huge multiplier. Did they get like 2 bales with the multiplier in or something? Because if they would have been able to deliver 3 with that 2.4, I think they would. I think they actually got it. Yeah, they probably got it. But anyways, and My Insanity, they were not able to deliver any bale, so they're still having the same exact score which they had after the first bale. So New Holland, I would say that here on the mid game, they made the leap, they made the gap here, and now the bale situation is about even. So both teams having the same amount of bales, which means that the multipliers are going to stay the same. And of course, Mindset, they need to be able to do more. And look at the bales at the front of Jan. That's that is the V shape. That is what you see the ski jumpers to do when they come out of the tower.
That was a good catch from Jan. Coming over the safer route, that bale nearly fell off. Managed to get the bale spike to the point where it just got back on it, and was able to get it all the way there. New Holland have been taking full advantage, though, of the bridges lowered that they had. And it meant that they've got more bales back there. Even if they didn't score with all of them, they got lots of bales there. And you can see the stack of bales they have kicking around. Lots more bales they've got kicking around, I think, than my Insanity has. So they will be they'll be in a good stead for these last 4 minutes. What is going to be the super drop at the 4-minute mark, though? And will it affect what's going on? It is bale points. And yes, that will definitely affect who is going to make it. It's going to be my Insanity by a whisker, adding 72 bale points. 72 very needed bale points. And now my Insanity have got a good number of bales sitting back here that they can score with. They just need to get them in.
Yeah, they definitely have a chance here, but the gap is still about 100 points. And, well, I mean, of course, the super drop was something, but was it enough? That's the question that I'm wondering. As, well, I mean, looking at how the gameplay currently goes, New Holland has been just so systematic. They have been very much oriented getting those bales. You mentioned about the bridges being lowered, and they have a lot of bales next to the belt. We can see that they are from time to time just delivering 3 bales at the front lift without any issues, as we can see also PB doing the same here. But you know, it has been looking very good for New Holland. They haven't done any mistakes so far, what I have seen. So to break that kind of consistency, something needs to happen, I would say. That New Holland, I mean, of course, they can do a mistake. I mean, Mindset can do a mistake, but, you know, to break that pattern, what they currently have going on, I think that if things will just go as they should, that, you know, they will just continue working, grinding the points, it will be hard to come back from this, even though we still have 2.5, because the bale counts are still reasonably the same. So we cannot expect to see like a situation when New Holland is, you know, just, you know, waiting for the bales to be delivered or anything like that, which Horny gang did on the last game. So something needs to happen, and to be honest, I don't know what that something is. But okay, now the situation is getting closer. Insanity is scoring some points. New Holland is not currently, you know, putting the bales on the belt, or maybe they have a couple waiting there. So we'll see. But on paper, at least to me, it looks that New Holland, they have a slight lead, and Mindset kind of like they need to come up with something.
Yeah, New Holland have at least 6 more bales sitting here, and they just need to load them up in this 1.5 minutes that's left. Yeah, look at the number of extra bales New Holland have. If they could get all of these bales on here, my Insanity have no hope of closing this gap and bringing this in. And that's the thing. The time that my Insanity spent getting more bales onto their belt is the time that New Holland spent going out there and getting extra bales in. And that could ultimately hurt my Insanity. With a minute to go, they haven't really got the time to get extra bales pressed and in. Or the bales that they need to close this. And Tita is just an absolute machine loading these bales up onto here, as El Herodes brings in more bales for them to load up. 624 to 573. It's not a huge amount between them, but the bales just aren't there for my Insanity if New Holland deliver all of these bales. It's a fight that they can't win. They got 2 bales sitting there, and they're ones that have dropped and they failed to score. Yeah, that is going to be almost impossible to come back from. And
Yeah, there was already one bale put on the first floor as well, so they were settling down with 10 points from that one. So they have definitely more bales than what they need. There we can see 2 more bales on the belt. Elro's going to be putting those final 2 bales. One is going to drop them down. We can see Mainz trying to catch up, but the amount of bales for New Holland is just way too much. The bales are going inside. They should be reaching close to 800 points, but Mainz is going to be trying to fight back, but they will lose the battle in the end with about 50 or 60 points, pending how much bales was delivered on the last second. So New Holland will claim the first match of the series. I would say still that it was closer than what it seemed to be, because there was a chance for New Holland to win this with 150 points or something like that. And in the end, we can see the gap is only 61 points. So, and of course, the amount of, the delivered bales for New Holland was bigger in the end. So that made the difference.
That's very impressive, considering that New Holland actually delivered 5 more bales and more grain, both under the multiplier and outside of the multiplier. Compared to my insanity. So that was a lot closer than it had any right to be, considering how New Holland did and how overwhelming everything else they had for them was. It's that was a good showing from my insanity trying to catch that up. I think a few more bales in, if they had the extra 5 bales, they'd have won that easy.
I think in the end, of course, we didn't see it from the stats clear. Or we did see it from the stats, but we don't have the stats visible anymore. So, I mean, we saw New Holland putting a couple of the bales on the first floor. So that's where they lost kind of like the bale points in the end. And, of course, we had the super drop as well, making a bit of a difference there. But anyways, a good game from both of them. I think that is showing that they are definitely on form. New Holland, I mean, they were the challenger for Horny gang last year, so I'm of course hoping that they will be still that this year as well. But I mean, there's no reason why my insanity couldn't be the challenger as well. Of course, they have to settle down this fight first, and then we'll see if and when they're gonna be facing with each other. For example, who's gonna face Horny gang on which phase tomorrow. Not saying that anybody else doesn't have a choice, but these are still the 3 strongest teams on the series, so it will be interesting to see how the power balances are currently going. But for me, at the moment, based on the results, what we have seen, they seem to be about the same. Of course, the question between Horny and New Holland is something that we will get the answer maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if my insanity can press a few more bales in this second match, it's going to be a much closer match. I think it'll end up being right down to the wire if they can squeeze out those extra few bales. And I think it was partly due to the fact that they were slightly slower at the start than New Holland. You know, there was 19 points between it just on that first bale. And that's nearly half of the points difference that they had at the end of it. So it's, I think just a little bit of a tighter game from my insanity will allow them not only to match those first bale points and close that gap there, but also close the number of bales being pressed at the same time. That will then just close that gap and possibly allow them to get the points to win. So it's not a huge amount that my insanity have to do in this second game. It'll be interesting to see what the change in team perk does to even things up a little bit. It was a very standard. Oh, sorry. It was a very standard, very similar game to the tactics we'd seen all season. And this next match, this next game, very much is not going to be, because they can't.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that we also saw in the last game was the middle game when New Holland actually managed to get those about 60 points, which was in the end about the same amount of points what we had on the end results as well. So the New Holland, kind of like, people were playing the grain game, playing with the multipliers. They did manage to get those 3 bales inside, and that's when they made about the amount of points. That was the gap in the end. Of course, without the super drop. So, I mean, things could have been going quite differently if New Holland would have been able to pick the super drop as well. So that kind of like gave a bit of a surprise element for the game and kind of like brought the mind sanity back to the game. But anyways, that was done, and we should be heading for the next match So there we go. The second game of the series once again. Kind of like loving the new Holland pictures, to be honest. I mean, it's like really showing the sweaters. But there we go. So we're going to go for the second game of the series. New Holland leading it 1-0. And of course, if they will win this one, then they will be proceeding to the semifinals for tomorrow. But of course, now it's time for the My Insanity to fight back. We saw the telehandlers and the narrow wheel tractors being banned. The bans, they haven't changed. What I mean is the rules that you can still work with the bans exactly the same way as you did last season as well. So it could be that we get the same bans, maybe. We'll see. Telehandlers being banned, and do we have the narrow wheel tractors as well? But like Alex said, it was the team perk. And what are your expectations, Alex, on that one? What do you want to see?
I think we're either going to see Unstoppable or Herbicide. Teams seem to be playing around with those two. And Unstoppable, I think, is a great disruptive team perk to choose. Herbicide is one where it's disruptive in that I think you can create a little more grain from it if your opponent doesn't go from it. So it'll be interesting to see which of them they go for from this. And here we go. Are we going to get a Baylor and a... Oh! Are we going with Big Hall?
Or maybe a bait. Let's wait for it. I'm not trusting these guys anymore
switch.
at all. And there we can see the slider just going down. But yeah, it's going to be Big Hall and Unstoppable. This is an interesting combination. What do you say, Alex, on this one?
I think this is very interesting because I think Unstoppable is a really good counter to Big Hall. Because the thing with Unstoppable is New Holland now can't take their multiplier above 2.4 or it will stop their belt. So as a result, Big Hall is nerfed a little bit because delivering all of that grain in that truck at once is going to send the multiplier beyond the point at which they can hold it. So yeah, this is going to be really interesting to see how New Holland spread the delivery of that grain in the truck. Are they just gonna deliver it all at once at the 8-minute mark? Or are they going to try and deliver it in 2 lots? So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it's a tough call. But in the end, I mean, on the last game, they still kind of like won the strategies with the grain in the middle, as they were able to get those points home. So okay, it's not so straightforward, but in a way, the Big Hall should be boosting their strategy a little bit, which is a good pick. But then on the other side, I mean, who knows what's going to happen with the Unstoppable, how they want to play it, and how they want to time it especially. That's the question. But there we go. The round is going to start, so let's worry about that later. We can see there's definitely a challenge going on from the same Baylor, and it's going to be L. Rhodes who's going to go there first. Definitely it's going to be claimed. L. Rhodes will pick that up, and he's going to continue with it. So that's going to leave My Insanity without that Baylor. We can see PB going for the combine. We can see Jan heading towards the fields, and of course they will start pressing the first bales. And there we go. We have the narrow wheel tractors in use as well, because the bans didn't this time rule them out, and it seems that Tita is going to go and just start working, and that's where the first bale is going to come as well. So L. Road seems to be the one that's going to toss, or whatever way it's going to be delivering it inside. Going to be engaging behind that one. They got 140 points with the last one, and they didn't toss it. And now they do have a chance of getting maybe 142 if the toss actually works. But it's going to be getting very close. And 141, yes! He will get it in. That's the first successful fast bale toss for the whole day.
That is impressive. A 141. They've improved on what they did last time. They've increased that gap. And Jan is coming in. He's not trying the toss. Instead, it is going to be a 118. So that's actually slightly worse for My Insanity this time. A larger first fail gap.
Yeah, it's not optimal.
Here comes the
23 points of a difference, so that is 1 point, one point something bales. I'm not gonna go the details this time, but anyway. So yeah, New Holland will take the lead. And yeah, I was expecting as well more from Jan at this point. I didn't like understand how much time actually had passed from the 40-minute mark already. But yeah, it is what it is. Can't really help that out anymore at this point. So they will just have to do more work on the fields. And of course, now the eye should be on the grain collection. New Holland, as we can see, Elrose going with the big haul. It's not even close to being full. And they have about 30k. They can collect something like, is it like 90,000 now with the current vehicles with a single load for 2 different vehicles. So
Yeah, and they've got those 2 ideal combines as well. So they've got the 2 biggest combines.
Yeah, so
that
that's
they can
even
run
more
as
than.
well.
You have the spec sheet of the vehicles. You can tell the
I
exact
don't.
number.
I think it's 16,000 liters, if I remember correctly, that each of those combines can hold.
So then it's like 90.
Yeah, it is a huge
94,
amount.
92,000. Yeah. So that is about 30,000 more than usually. Bale drop and speed limit. So this will, I mean, the grain game is on. It's not here. There's nothing here that's going to be affecting it. So silo closed and the grain multiplier is still in the play for the next drops. And that's once again the point when you have to make the decision. Will you risk it, or, I mean, you have seen these television shows like, Double or Nothing, or, whatever they are. So kind of like the same feeling here, that whatever you're going to choose, it can be a great thing or it can go horribly wrong. And I don't know. Do you think, Alex, that these players, they have like the gut feeling that, yeah, it's going to be that one. There's got to be a grain multiplier coming up. Or do they have maybe some kind of calculation patterns? Do they think how often or how probable it is that they should be coming or not?
I don't think that New Holland can play the grain multiplier here. They can't go beyond 2.4, and as a result, they have to be very careful as to exactly how much grain they deliver. This will probably even things up, I think. No, in fact, it has sent it the other way, which is great. But yeah, so they've done that perfectly. They've got themselves to a 2.3 multiplier. Their belt is really, really slow now, and they've avoided the issue that they might have had of my insanity at this point delivering any bales that they've got and scoring some points while they had a 3 times multiplier with a fast belt. It's now going to be down to, can New Holland maintain this 2.3? Can they get the extra grain in to keep this here? Because the other thing is that will slow down my insanity quite a bit. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, there's no bales for New Holland, so there's nothing they can deliver. So they can't really take the any kind of a use from this multiplier at this point, because they cannot deliver any bales. And then, yeah, I mean, kind of like they give an idea to my insanity that, okay, we have the big haul, we can do it, things like this. And of course, one thing with the with the big haul is that it's not just the amount of grain, it's also the speed when you unload it to the silo, because you just pour it down. I don't know what is exactly the speed difference, but it's at least double, I would say, that when you unload it. So that you can, in a way, like, counterfeit something, not counterfeit, but counter some strategies there. And now we can see also mines that it's just unloading the grain as well. I think the multipliers are pretty much even now, 2.0. Yes, exactly. And the both sides will continue still the grain collection. And one thing that I want to notice here, we are already at 9 minutes. And so, yeah, we don't know what's going to be at the drop. We don't have any bales, and the teams, they have the same amount of grain, but it's not like a huge number of grain. I mean, both teams are still in the normal amounts, normal limits of the grain. So, to me, to be honest, I don't think that New Holland so far has been really utilizing the big haul as much as they could have. But in a way, I'm not the right person to say how they should have been using it. But in a way, I mean, everything they have done, they could have done it without the big haul, more or less, as well.
As I was saying earlier, I think that my insanity have chosen a really good counter to the big haul. Getting unstoppable means that New Holland cannot deliver a huge amount of grain at any point. So it makes it very difficult for New Holland with that big haul to take full advantage of it. Crazy Tool and Bridges Lowered. Crazy Tool is the perk you want to get at this 8-minute mark. Both teams are into bailing. Both teams should just go and excuse the phrase. Both teams should go ham and create bales like mad at this point. They absolutely should.
Bridges Lowered and Crazy
Do neither team grabbing Crazy Tool, which is a little bit crazy at the moment. I'm very surprised by this.
Well, they gotta go for the Bridges Lowered on the both sides. They don't see the use for the Crazy Tool. I mean, considering the situation that they don't have the bales really at the moment. I mean, we can see Mind Sanity. I mean, having a Crazy Tool here would be perfect, that he could just, you know, do those bales like as fast as he can. But they probably have a meaning for it. So this is going to be staying pretty even, actually. And now we don't have any multipliers, the team's having about the same amount of grain as well. We can see New Holland, they have been pressing the bales. So they have more bales available than My Insanity. So this, I think that this actually will enable them to kind of like still continue collecting the grain and maybe surprising My Insanity here at the end, so they can get a like we can see that My Insanity having like a 50,000. They can unload that, and okay, this load from New Holland, this should be ending about the same based on my calculations, because now My Insanity well, after they have unloaded that one, the New Holland will just, you know, of course, do the same. And I think it's going to go back to 2.0. So this is the moment when My Insanity wants to get those points home. And they are putting 3 bales on the belt. And that's going to give them maybe something. But in time, New Holland comes in. And that's, they
Look
will,
at that.
each second will take away points as hell. And they will make it. They will take those points. And it's going to be only 18 points
too
for
far.
that bale. It's a great job from New Holland.
New Holland have a huge problem now, though. And no, My Insanity have released New Holland's belt.
Yeah,
That
there
is
we
a
go. I mean, they
huge
had the grain
mistake
as
for
well.
My Insanity.
Yeah, 1.5 was too less. So in the end, we end up with 0 grain on both sides. And New Holland with a 2.1 multiplier. So My Insanity, I think those 3 bales which they... Was there 3 or was there only... There was 3, yeah. They got like 15 or 18 to 15 points per bale. So they had 100 and... Was it 18 or something before that? And they will end up with the 160. So they will get 44 points from 3 bales, which is not optimal.
So I'll just explain why that is... Why I think that is a massive mistake that My Insanity have just made. New Holland had the multiplier at 2.5. That means that with Unstoppable, their belt was stopped. So while My Insanity were only going to score 1.5 multiplier with every bale, that still meant that they were easily scoring 5 more points than New Holland, because New Holland couldn't put anything on the belt. And there was no way New Holland could affect that. So by releasing it, they've now given New Holland a 2-point advantage for every bale, rather than holding on to a 5-point advantage for every bale. That is, when you're running Unstoppable, that is exactly the opposite to what you want to do. If the other team stops their belt, and only just stops their belt like that, you want that advantage. You need that advantage. And
there we go.
Yeah, wow.
Bale points for New Holland. We had the super drop coming in, so they're gonna pick that up. But yeah, looking at the score situations, the gap is 130 points, and this is not looking good for My Insanity, because I mean the gap is, like I said, it's now 150. New Holland having, I would say, about the same or slightly more bales than My Insanity, and they have the multiplier advantage as well, and they're leading on the points. So I think the game was decided there. But of course, like leaving that 2.5 multiplier without the moving belt was risky because we know that New Holland is one of those teams that can actually also drive on the belt and deliver them without the moving belt. So I would say that, I don't know, was it like on purpose or was it a mistake? The fact
Well,
is that the timing is
New
so
Holland
important
were trying to
there.
stop it. I think they were trying to stop it at 2.4 because you could see they immediately stopped it as soon as it hit 2.5, and I think they just slightly miscalculated it. And even if they were driving up the belt, you know, it's a 10-point difference for every bale to drive up the belt. It's just gonna eat so much time, and you've then got to you've got to be really good at driving up the belt. And Mind Sanity could just take advantage of that and keep delivering so many bales. You know, they'd only have to deliver 2 bales for every one that New Holland were having to deliver really slowly to negate that. It just seems to me that is a massive mistake that New Holland made, stopping their own belt. And I think My Insanity let them off the hook really, really easily. That could have made things so much more difficult for New Holland in the closing stages of this.
Yeah, I think that Mindsanity was really worried about the multiplier for themselves because they knew that there's a gap on the points, so they still need to get those points. So they wanted to get a better multiplier for themselves. And it even could be that they didn't realize that the belt is actually stopped, that it was too late. They already started to pour down the grain. But doesn't matter anymore. We have about 50 points of a difference. New Holland is leading about with 4 bales as well when it comes to the pressed bales, and we have 1 minute to go. So it is not yet done. And on this X-ray vision, we can see that there's about the same amount of bales going inside. For the both teams, New Holland will be still keeping the lead after these bales. And it's going to need, once again, maybe a slight mistake or a problem from the New Holland side. We'll see how the final stacking is going to go. Signy is going to be dropping a couple of the bales next to the belt, so they are easy to operate. The gap is going to stay about the same, about 60 points. Okay, now it's about 80 points, but still, it is not like a huge lead. It is still something that you can come back from. But now, when we look at the bale count, there's 6 bales, actually 4 bales anymore remaining. So when we calculate the difference on the bales and the points, so if Mindsanity will shove all the bales inside, they will take the lead with about 45 points. But New Holland on the other side, they have definitely more bales available, and I think that Mindsanity is actually running out of bales after this one, so there's no way that they can anymore come back as New Holland. Couple seconds to go, and they're gonna wait with 100
They're not
points.
gonna make it.
There's no bales for Mindsanity anymore at that stage, and it will be New Holland, which will be the third team that's gonna be fighting their way to the semi-finals for tomorrow.
Bill is saying, oh yeah, they could have run it up the conveyor. I think Mind Sanity let New Holland off the hook. I think they could have. Yeah, they would never have delivered as many bales as they did if they'd had to try and run everyone up the belt. And it would have slowed New Holland down to the point where they could not have won that if that had been kept at the 2.5.
Yeah, most probably, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there wouldn't have been so many points, and they couldn't have, get that many points during the last 30 seconds, definitely, when they had so many bales. When you do the final rush, I mean, the thing with the final, when you put those final bales on the belt and shove them inside and drive all the way to the belt, you need to have like all the angles covered. You need to have 2-3 bales on the belt. You need to have somebody, driving up that belt, and then you have somebody ready who's going to be shove the remaining bales on the first floor as well. And in a way, that would have been at least like 60, 80 points lost if the just during the last minute of the game, for example. So definitely, I think you're right on that one, Alex. In a way, Mind Sanity, it was a mistake to let them off the hook.
And New Holland only delivered one more bale than my Insanity, and they delivered 2 more into the bottom of those. So it was won on that advantage of the multiplier at the end there. That was given to them by my Insanity. So, right, we're going to for a short break. We will be back shortly.
And welcome back. It's going to be time for the last match of the day, or the last series. And of course, we now know that, of course, of the first match, we had Lindner proceeding all the way to the semifinals. We had a New Holland as well, advancing on the last game. And New Holland actually will be facing Lindner on the semifinals. So that is the one pair that has been settled. And then we have Horny Gang, who also made to the semifinals, and the winner of this last matchup of today will be proceeding to the semifinals and will face Horny Gang tomorrow. And of course, the last game will be Team Charlie versus Valtra. But of course, before we go to this match, we're going to be having the replays from the previous game as well. I would say that New Holland, pretty flawless performance from them. A slight mistake with the big haul to kind of like stop the belt, but otherwise, I mean, they were just doing the job as always.
Yeah, absolutely. New Holland playing absolute blinder, managing to press more bales in the first match, in the first game, and won it that way. Very much, I still feel very much let off the hook by my insanity in the second game, given a 2-point multiplier advantage, and used it to full advantage to win that second match. Yeah, I feel it was a little bit of New Holland's, my insanities to lose rather than New Holland's to win in that second game.
Well, there we go. Couple of replays, couple very minor mistakes, as we can see here. Some problems putting the bales on the belt, but nothing that major. So the replays are definitely shorter than what we had last season. But I in a way, I kind of like the replays that we actually see, the things we kind of like miss out on the stream as well. We'll see how it's gonna like evolve during the season once again. But there we go. So the next game, like mentioned, Team Charlie versus Valtra. So this is the what we're going to be now getting. And of course, Valtra placing 7th on the last season. And Team Charlie, on the other side, they did place on the tied 10th place on the season. So none of the teams actually made it on the top 5 on the last season. But still, I think we saw like a glimpses of hope, glimpses of performance, especially from Team Charlie. And Valtra, I think they had also announcement about the roster just a couple days ago on Twitter. And is there anything you want to mention about that, Alex?
Yeah, so I Valtra going into this, I think, are very, very confident. Because I noticed on their Twitter, they've got Valtra versus Team Charlie, and then they've got Valtra versus to be confirmed after that for tomorrow, which is very much the prediction that they're going to win this, and you know they don't know who they're playing yet tomorrow, which I thought was very funny. I thought that was absolutely brilliant. So they're very confident going into this. They definitely think they're going to win it. And that's a great place to be in. We will see if that prediction holds true for them, and see if they go through. I think it's not a bad prediction. Valtra are a very strong team. They were very strong at the beginning of last season, and it will be interesting to see how they fare today.
Yeah, last season, I mean, both teams, they made twice to the semifinals during the whole season on the online tournaments. Both times, actually, Valtra ended up getting the 3rd place, and both times Team Charlie ended up getting the 4th place. So both teams, they have some experience from the semifinal, or let's say the final day of the tournament. So will be interesting to see. Of course, I mean, as always, when we have seen quite different series actually so far, different kind of strategies. We saw the big haul, we saw the herbicide, and who knows what Valtra and Team Charlie is going to be pulling up here. And of course, just as a reminder once again, because of course I know that, you know, when the last game is done, people want to be going and doing their errands during the weekend. So just as a slight reminder, tomorrow 10:15 Central European time on the same channel, we're going to be starting the finals. So make sure to be here tomorrow as well.
Yeah, and best of 5 tomorrow, of course, as well. So we've got 3 matches. We've got the 2 semi-finals and the final, and all of those are going to be best of 5. And it's going to be really interesting to see how the new rules shake up those best of 5 games. If a game goes to the best of 5, teams very much are going to have to use most of the team perks that are out there. If they want to pick a team perk for them. So yeah, we're gonna see lots of very different strategies coming out. As we already are. I mean, that was the thing about the last match. The first game was a very standard, very normal set of tactics that we've seen throughout the last season, and then the second game shook everything up. Unstoppable coming out, Big Hall coming out, and seeing how teams were trying to disrupt each other and try to play a little bit differently because they had to. And I love the fact that it's coming out of that safe space and having to do something a little bit different with each game. That's really going to shake things up. So we are going into the next match.
Yes, exactly. So we can see Team Charlie and Valtra, which was mentioned there. I think some upgrades for the pictures as well. And there we go. Once again, the ban phase that hasn't been kind of like bringing that many surprises. We have seen a lot of different utilities actually being banned from time to time, and so far I haven't seen a huge impact. I think definitely the focus has been on the perks, what the people and the teams are going to be choosing. But the Massive Ferguson seems that Stayer will be banned as well, and then we'll just wait for the remaining ones. Seems that we do have some narrow tire tractors on the play, and probably some telehandlers as well if people want to play them. Unless, of course, they will just ban them as a 2 last picks. But, usually when somebody wants to ban the telehandlers, they will start from those, and then the same team usually bans them. But this time, they might be cooperating, or maybe not, because Valtra will be banned, and the other telehandler will be still available.
Team Charlie not going for the bait of banning the second telehandler. They have banned the other front loader, which is an interesting choice. We don't often see that happen. Both teams going for bottleneck, though, by the looks of things. So, yeah, fairly standard set of tactics off the get-go here.
Yeah, that seems
Both
to be the case.
Going
but there
for
we
that
go.
Case Baylor. That Case Baylor has the care wheels.
But they actually changed to unstoppable in the end. So
it's a good.
There we go.
Oh, they did.
Yes,
Ooh.
last second. The baiting
So
game
that means
is strong.
Valtra are going to have to be very careful.
Careful, safer route. Do they work together? But okay, player picks are going on. So let's see. We can see Søren going for Valtra, not picking a perk for the time being. Lennox going for Deutschfahr and Archimedes. We're still waiting for Anton on the Valtra side. There we got John Deere, and do we have a perk? Meanwhile, on the other side, we have Martin with John Deere, Manny with John Deere as well. And then we have Charlie with Fend. We have Archimedes and Runner on the both sides, and one player without a perk on the both sides as well. So there we go, 0 points remaining, and of course we go once again to the starting phase, and we'll see how the challenges are going to go. I think the challenges have been like spicing up a little bit during the day. The first game was, I would say, a bit confusing how it started, but since then we have seen definitely, let's say, more traditional challenges and people running to the pads and driving to the pads as well. Lennox not going to find the side of the gate, so he's going to be just heading straight towards the pads. Seems to be going for the John Deere, maybe. We'll see. Manny is going to follow. I'm going to go for the Baylor instead, and yeah, Lennox going to pick that up, and we can see Anton taking the Fend one as well, so that is a good pick definitely. And the first Baylor is going to be starting to build once again, and now we're just waiting to see how that's going to go in the end. And this is interesting. They had 2 ideals running there. at the same time that they had the third player coming and pressing the bail behind the whole thing. But let's see what's going to result out of that one. Probably some kind of miscommunication or calculation. I don't know what was the case there. And we can see Lennox staying there. We can see Søren going for the first bail. We actually have a decent chance to get a 100. This could be the highest bail if he's going to swing this in, but he's going to reverse it instead.
Ooh,
It's
he's
gonna be
not.
still very good. 140 maybe. Oh, yeah, 140. There we go.
Yes.
So that is a good one when you consider the fact that he actually didn't swing it.
I think it's Valtra definitely off to a stronger start here. They've managed to get both the Ideal Combine off the podium and the John Deere Combine off the podium. So they've got the 3 largest combines in their setup, in that they've got 2 Ideals and a John Deere. It is pushing Team Charlie to slightly smaller equipment, which is a good piece of advantage for Valtra off the get-go. Great start with that first bail for Valtra as well. 114 to 140 means that there's about a bail and a quarter there for Valtra in their advantage. So that's an entire extra bail that Team Charlie, more than an extra bail that Team Charlie have to deliver in order to match up the scores, which is a very strong start for Valtra there.
Yeah, it's a good start, definitely. And once again, I mean, grain is being collected, so I would say that during almost the last year as a whole, this whole middle game part has been focusing on the grain and, what's coming out of the drops there and how they're going to be affecting and, who has a strategy that works, and of course how the perks are going to be, or the drops are going to be in a way affecting into it. So just 15 seconds, and then of course, I mean, these 12-minute drops, in a way, they usually don't make that much of a difference, to be honest. I mean, people, yes, they do pick them up if there's something very easy benefit, but actually it's pretty minor change to the whole gameplay, unless there is something regarding silos or grain. Not that they would be really used at that point, but the fact that they take away that drop from the 8-minute drop, which is the most important one, how the strategy will evolve from there. So, but there was bridges lowered and bridges raised, if I saw correctly, so nothing that impactful for this time. So teams can just, go their merry ways, continue collecting the grain, and the strategy which they have chosen, they can more or less just proceed with it. And now the first move comes from Team Charlie as they will start dropping down the grain. The same applies for Valtra as well. I think they have about the same amount being collected, so if they will decide to empty everything they got there, they should be ending up with the about the same multiplier, or maybe some minor differences there, but there's still plenty of time to collect more and wait for the next drops. There we go, 2.0 for both sides, so those are empty. The first batch is delivered, and no changes to the situation. It's exactly the same for both teams.
And the 2.0, it's even about pretty much exactly the same amount of grain delivered. So it's fairly even at this point, just the bail points separating the two of them. Excuse me. As Team Charlie comes to empty their combines again, it'll be the difference will be when they come up to that end bit, when they've got the overloader there, where they've got all of their combines back. There will probably be that little extra bit that Valtra have, and with the very small amount between the teams here, you can see how much it would take to just tip it over to a 2.1 to 1.2. That may be all that the Valtra needs in order to get that slight bit of advantage going into sort of the last 8 minutes. So we'll see if there's see if that does come to to pass, see if there is going to be that advantage at the 8-minute mark. It also depends on if something like the grain multiplier turns up. If the grain multiplier turns up at the 8-minute mark as well, that is only going to exacerbate that difference between the amount of grain that Valtra has versus Team Charlie.
And every time when you see a team going for the silos and they kind of like place, that they're not gonna go like, let's say, like on the middle of a silo, they will go to the kind of like the back end of a silo. That usually means that they are placing the equipment so that they can start building these more complicated setups to pour more grain to the silo. So we saw Valtra putting one there, and that probably means that they are collecting more, and they're probably gonna place some more equipment and build the setup. So they're definitely preparing what's gonna happen at the 8-minute mark, because they know that the all the drops that are meaningful regarding the grain game are still available. Also silo close. So in a way, you can still make the decision. Do you want to go and do something right now, or do you want to wait for the 8-minute mark? And in a way, at the same time, also risk the possibility that you're gonna lose something or you're gonna gain something. So there's like 3 different options more or less on that situation. We can see Anton going there with the ideal. That's gonna be fine, and then we can see the previous trailer, so he can just definitely having the space to park it on the side of it. And it's just 5 seconds and we'll see the drops, and of course we'll see, is there anything disruptive like the pancake monster, for example. But there's crazy tool and speed up, so that's not gonna change anyhow the grain game, more or less. I mean, of course, some small changes with these tools to general other things what are happening, but regarding the grain and the strategy-wise, pouring it down, it doesn't change that. So we can see both teams now just preparing to unload, I think, as fast as they can.
Interesting play here from Team Charlie in that they delivered a very little bit of their grain so that they made space in the New Holland Combine. I don't think that they've maxed out the amount of grain in that New Holland Combine though. And as a result, they haven't taken full advantage of it. It'll be interesting to see if it keeps things even though. They took it to a 2.0 and Valtra still have grain, and there we go. Oh, on the verge of a 2.2. Just shy of it. Have they got any? No, they've got grain left.
They have.
Valtra have grain left.
And they are waiting for it. I think they want to bait Team Charlie to put the bales on the bell, thinking that they have the advantage. And when they'll see that the bales are there, they will just unload it and they will take the advantage away. So they will kind of like, make Team Charlie to do the work, thinking that, that this is going to be good for us. And in the end, they are actually losing something because they're going to be losing some valuable time from the other operations. We can see Anton actually preparing for the bales, so he's going to start putting those maybe to the belt. And then we should be getting the unload operation at the same time that they can take the advantage. 2.1. And do we still... No, they actually unloaded the grain, so it's 2.1. It's going to stay there, so that's not going to change. And a slight advantage for Valtra. They had a slight advantage already for the first bale as well. And now, looking how this is going to build up. In a way, there was like a false hope for Team Charlie for a matter of seconds. But that was taken away, and that is a lot of bales. That is 84 points. And when you put that last one, it's going to be 105. So Valtra, they will go for, I would say that is an attack, an aggressive move to just to show that we got this.
It's good play here from Valtra, and kudos to Team Charlie. They did try and counter the whole thing with the extra grain that they were expecting. Unfortunately, they didn't quite take it far enough and didn't put enough grain in there. I don't think it's a huge amount they would have needed to have had in there to actually counter what Valtra were doing. But it just hasn't quite been enough to prevent this deficit in the multiplier. And now everything is in Valtra's court. They have a lot of bales. They have the extra multiplier. It's going to be down to, can Team Charlie press the extra bales they need to win this?
I think Team Charlie, looking at them once again, I can definitely, at least on my eye, I can see a slight difference here. I think that Valtra once again is one of those like a more, let's say, organized teams. You can see the bales nicely next to the bell. Team Charlie was actually gathering some bales on the side of that building. I don't know what is the story with that one, but to me it seems that everything is going so smoothly for Valtra, and same as with the let's say with the racing cars, smooth is fast, even though these are not maybe the latest racing cars, but still are very powerful tractors. So I would say that when everything like looks good, then the result is good as well, because when you kind of optimize your driving lines, you optimize the movements, and like this, for example, a small thing for Team Charlie, but that's a 5 seconds of lost time, as they will not make it to the bridge, for example, and they will just have to make a U-turn. We have the super drop coming in, and what is that super drop? It was actually bottom boost. It's already picked. That's going to be picked by Team Charlie, so this is their time to shove as many bales inside as they can. So they have a chance of now kind of like closing the gap if they have the bales available and if they have the resources available. But yeah, now we'll just have to wait for it. They still have about 50 seconds, and there we can see Charlie. I mean, yeah, he's gonna take those. Let's get those inside, and then I think he has a time for maybe 2 more passes, so they have a good chance of kind of like, in a way, not maybe completely closing the gap, but at least getting close. But then at the same time, they have to make sure that they still have more bales available, that even if they close the gap, they still need to have something to maintain the situation.
Team Charlie's biggest problem at the moment is because Valtra selected bottleneck and Team Charlie didn't. Team Charlie are having to go the long way round for every bale they deliver, whereas Valtra just have complete use of 2 bridges all the time. Team Charlie don't. And this is what's really hurting Team Charlie. It's taking them longer to get bales in, and therefore it's meaning they can press fewer bales than Valtra can. And this is why Valtra seem to always have bales back at their barn, and Team Charlie are struggling to keep their barn supplied, because they also have the fast conveyor. So as they have the fast conveyor, any bales they get are immediately disappearing, and they can't replace them quick enough. And this is why we're seeing this pull out in speed in points on Valtra's side, on top of the fact that they've got this higher multiplier.
True. Well, the gap is not that big on the points, and 2 minutes to go. Of course, Valtra, the belt situation is good. I mean, still like, well, they have on the belt, I think 3 to 2 bales, and then maybe 7-8 bales on the side of it. So they are leading with couple bales, and they have some more points in. Lennox bringing the more bales. So this is looking good. Valtra, I mean, it seems that they can hold the situation. There's a small mistake. 1 bale is gonna drop, and the next one actually on the belt is a bit sideways. I think it's gonna be just able to squeeze in though. So it's hopefully not gonna be getting stuck there. That would be I don't know. It's gonna drop actually, but that's, in a way, it's good. Because sometimes, when the bales are positioned that way, they go all the way up, and then they will kind of like, jam the whole doorway. And there's a risk that it will drop maybe another bale as well. So just losing one at the midway of the belt, it's not the biggest problem. Now we can see some organizing happening from Team Charlie as well. I like this, what I see, because we can see these bales actually being parked and left to the place where Charlie 74 doesn't have to do that much work. He can just, go back and forth, and put them on the belt. Doesn't have to make any extra moves. But still, the point difference is, okay, it's more than 100, and still 7 bales for Valtra, though this unfortunately seems like a done deal, as they are delivering the final bales. 2 more on the belt, at least. We can see that Anton is already reaching out. He dropped the rear lift, and there we can see that also Team Charlie is trying to get the points. And this is actually, this push is coming a bit early from Valtra's side, but of course, if you don't have any more bales, that is what you need to do. And only 3 bales remaining for Team Charlie. So unfortunately, that's not going to be enough. They will try to do everything they can, but they will be about 160 points behind. And it will be this time. Valtra, who will claim the first match of the series.
I'm expecting a big difference in number of bales delivered. I think Valtra there were pressing more bales and delivering more bales, and I think the thing that was keeping the scores close throughout that was actually the fact Valtra were dropping bales off the side. And there we go, bales delivered, 36 for Valtra, 30 for Team Charlie. There is a big points difference there, plus the difference in multiplier. Yeah, that's very much the story of that. Having to go all the way round extra because of that bottleneck really meant Team Charlie could not keep up in pressing as many bales as Valtra could.
Yeah, I mean, the bale situation was definitely something, and then I would say that the overall efficiency on the fields and around the barn area was very good for Valtra. We saw one mistake, and that's about it. We didn't see really much of a mistakes from Team Charlie, but we saw kind of like a bit slow movement and some issues with the bridges, for example, that costed some time. Not saying that those are the real factors, but in the end, I mean, the strategies with the grain, maybe some misreadings there as well. But I think it's a game that you can still build on. It's not like that, you know, it is 160 points behind or something like that. But it's not the end of the world. And we have seen Team Charlie to actually kind of like pull up these complicated situations in the past as well. They have still made it 2 times on the semifinals. They have won opponents when people have been thinking that, you know, the odds are not in their favor. So I think it's time for Charlie and his team now to you know, try to find one of those rabbits from the hat and just pull that off.
Well, that's the thing. I think the next match is going to be a very different one because you know, we saw the power of bottleneck in this one, the effect it has on pressing bales. That cannot be picked by Valtra in the next game. So Valtra have got to pick a different team perk. It's going to change the whole dynamic of it. And to be perfectly honest, Team Charlie can pick bottleneck. They can turn around and disrupt Valtra in the same way as Valtra have just disrupted them. And if they do that, I think we're going to see a very different match, possibly with a very different outcome. So yeah, I think the second game is going to be very interesting, and we're going to find out if Team Charlie are able to turn the tables on Valtra.
So what do you think? Like, okay, now we have unstoppable, bottleneck. These have been used the most, but let's say tomorrow, best of 5s, we go to the match number 4. Let's imagine that these are being already used, and maybe herbicide is used by Horny gang, for example. So let's say that what would you go next? Like, let's say that the other team picks big haul, and you don't have the unstoppable or herbicide or the bottleneck available. So what would be then the counter strategy for big haul, for example?
It's difficult. I think if one team picks bottleneck, the other team has to pick bottleneck. I think there isn't a reasonable counter to bottleneck other than itself. And that's the reason why it was a strategy that was used the entirety of last season, because it's just so detrimental to the number of bales you can press. I think we saw earlier today that if someone picks Big Haul, Unstoppable is a good perk to pick against it. It causes Big Haul to be nerfed a fair amount if you're disrupting exactly how much they can deliver. And, you know, the team that has Big Haul then has to be very careful not to hit that 2.5 multiplier, because if they do, we very nearly had a huge problem for New Holland earlier when that happened. So I think those two go together. Herbicide's a difficult one. I don't really know what the counter to it is at the moment. And I think we've got a team perk that hasn't been picked yet. I think there's a 5th team perk, and I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. So there's a team perk that nobody's picking at the moment, that we've yet to see come into play. We could see come into play tomorrow.
Well, we just have to wait for tomorrow, and I really hope that we have some matches going all the way to the fifth game because I want to see these like end games with the perks, how they're gonna go and what's gonna happen with it. In a way, I was okay, trying to touch ground with the last questions regarding. But anyways, let's focus on the next game. So we have Valtra leading the series 1-0, and of course, if Valtra wins the second game as well, then they're gonna be advancing to the semifinals. But now it is the do or die moment for Team Charlie. So we can see the bans coming up. No surprises here, really. Telehandlers seem to be in play. We haven't seen either one of them being banned. Puma is there, Valtra is there, Massive Ferguson is there. It's going to be something with the big wheels. No, it's going to be, well, yeah, Valtra T234. So there we go. Nothing that special about it. So telehandlers are in play, and also we have some narrow wheel tractors available as well. So that is just as a reminder. And there we go with the picks. So we can see Valtra now having a big haul, bottleneck. Interesting. Big haul, bottleneck, none.
Oh,
so this look at
good.
it actually warped a little bit, and they will end up with none.
Wow.
Valtra, I think they tried to bait something there, and that didn't work. And that is exactly the question that I tried to ask a couple games ago. That if you don't, is there some kind of a lag or something that you have to be on the safer side when you pick that up, and now it's gonna bite in the ass of Valtra.
And Valtra are at a distinct disadvantage because this is against bottleneck. So all the bridges are open to Team Charlie. Team Charlie can do to Valtra what Valtra did to them last game, and Valtra have no disruption of Team Charlie at all from their team perk. That is not a good start for Valtra at all.
This is interesting. So bottleneck versus nothing as a perk. So now we'll see if the raw grinding and the individual performance without the perk can give you the win. At least they will try, definitely. But definitely, I would say that the I want to hear the story behind this. Maybe it's intentional, but I'm pretty sure that they actually, because they had something selected. I mean, there's no harm by selecting big haul, for example, compared to none. So, but yeah, I think it was kind of like a timing issue exactly when you choose team pack. But anyways, let's focus on the game at hand. But I'm just so excited about what just happened there. Meanwhile, so we have been running for 15 seconds. We have the battle of the pads once again. The first bale is going to be an issue. Valtra seems to be in a reasonable shape. I mean, we can see that the harvest is going to go to the fields next to the barn. So the usual strategy that you will start pressing the bale on that location. And now we'll just wait how long it's going to take for them to get that in. Team Charlie, I mean, we can see that the equipment is moving to the fields right now. So it means that they will be definitely later. And we can see Valtra probably going to be disengaging already pretty fast, unless Sören is late here as well. Manny, not that far away. This is actually getting pretty close. I thought that Valtra, they have the advantage there, but I didn't see the other player. And Martin is... he's gonna go for it. I mean, Valtra, they had the other player there in early, but they got like we're missing the player with the baler, and yeah, it's about the same. Nobody's will be getting 140. Sören 130. What is it, like a 5? No, 25. Sorry, my clock reading is bad, and it's gonna be exactly the same for both teams.
Decent start for both teams there. That's good. Looks like we got a bit of a harvester advantage for Valtra. They have managed to get 2 ideal combines. Team Charlie are stuck with that New Holland combine with the slightly smaller grain tank again. So they've not managed to get the John Deere. I don't know whether John Deere is not available or whether that has also been grabbed by Valtra off the podiums. But yes, certainly a good advantage here for Team Charlie. Yeah, I don't know why Valtra didn't grab Big Haul. I think Big Haul would have been the best counter they could have gone for up against Bottleneck here, because it would have possibly given them an advantage with the grain multiplier. And so as a result, they are they're not able to counter quite so well as they might have been able to otherwise.
Well, we'll just have to wait and see what is the general impact of that decision or mistake. We don't know what it is. We see a bit of a mistake from Charlie though, so they lost some grain to the ground, not that much, but you know it's something. And meanwhile, just the grinding continues. The 12-minute drops are here in a matter of seconds, and then we'll see what is available. We haven't seen any disruptive drops for a while, but there we go. Silo closed, so this is important. They can pick that up. Probably not going to be used that much unless somebody has a strategy of unloading it right now. And we can see Søren, he tries to go there, but he's way too late to realize that the silo is already closed, so they will just continue the collection. Gotta park it right there, and now we'll just wait what's gonna be the is it gonna be Team Charlie who's gonna do something? No, both teams have picked it already, so also Valtra has picked the silo closed, so no grain is gonna be used at all at this point. And then of course the big question is that in 3 minutes and 20 seconds will there be a grain multiplier? And every time when we have a silo closed, by the way, well, not every time, but let's say most of the times when we have silo closed on 12-minute mark, what we have seen is that, of course, then teams, you know, because they cannot unload, so they are, you know, collecting the maximum amount of grain. So then the grain multiplier, in a way, will have an impact. But then on the other hand, both teams also had the time to collect all the grain, so they usually end up having the same amount of grain, especially now without the big haul. Imagine if Valtra would now have the big haul and they cannot deliver at the 12-minute mark or after it, so they have more time to, you know, gather the grain, and then they should be ending up having more at the 8-minute mark.
Yeah, it would be a massive amount of grain that the Valtra would have had they had big haul, and it is the thing that's put them on the back foot. However, they have managed to get as their third combine the Massey Ferguson over the Rostelmash. So again, Team Charlie have the slightly smaller combine as their third combine, means there's extra grain sitting there for Valtra. And in fact, Valtra are not going to use the Massey Ferguson as the extra combine. They are going to empty now at the 10-minute mark and go out there and refill the overloader. They're going to maximize how much grain they can get in, and it looks like if Team Charlie stick to what they're doing now, they could be in a really bad grain deficit.
Yeah, meanwhile, Valtra has been also pressing some bales. So now is the time to use those. If they, I mean, well, maybe not, but I mean, at least they have 3.0 multiplier, so you can't really complain about it if you get 90 points out of it at this point, because kind of like building the early lead is something that you usually want to do. Now we can see Team Charlie striking back. So both teams, I mean, they are not waiting for the grain multiplier at all. But Valtra, they are already collecting more. So in a way, I don't know if they're baiting. No, they're going to stay at 2.0. So that's going to leave probably some grain for Team Charlie as well. And now if there's the grain multiplier at 8-minute mark, Valtra, in a way, with this small trick in between, has taken the lead on grain, definitely. So the grain multiplier would be working their way if it comes. And because the score and the belt multiplier situation is the same, then the multipliers, I think they should be about the same for both teams as well. So in a way, the amount of collected grain can make the difference here. But let's wait for the drop. 20 seconds, then we'll have it. And then we can see where it's going to take us. Because you never know. With the Farming Simulator League, you never know where things are going to take us. Not even with Terminator.
Before Team Charlie started unloading their grain, Valtra had 10,000 litres more. So, and now, yeah, they've got 20,000 litres more, although they are at a slight disadvantage with the multiplier. This is Yeah, this is fairly big. Valtra have a distinct advantage with the multiplier and the grain at the moment. Can they get this in their favor? And if so, can they then manage to get enough bales in to fully take advantage of it? It is going to take them longer to deliver bales, and their round trip is more because they have the bottleneck against them. But it'll be interesting to see if they get the multiplier into a point where that isn't an issue for them.
I mean, to me, this seems that we are repeating the same what we saw in the last game. Team Charlie had this exactly the same moment that they kind of like, you know, made the multiplier to work for themselves. They were preparing the bales to start to deliver them, which they were just doing a couple seconds ago. And at the same time, Valtra will start unloading whatever they have and kind of like will deny the chance from Team Charlie to score those high score bales. And let's see where this is going to end up. I think when Valtra is going to unload it, they will have a slight advantage on the multiplier in the end. I mean, they still have 30k, and I think they will get like a 2.2, maybe even 3 multiplier for Valtra. I'm not sure, actually, but that's just my calculations. But there we go. But Valtra, they should have started to unload it already, because these points are going to go to Team Charlie, and that's going to be 23 points per bale. Now they will start unloading it, 35. And there's going to be even more,
gonna do it?
as
No.
there was a bale multiplier at the same time happening as well. That is an amazing play from Team Charlie coming at this point, because they have the bale multiplier at the same time running. And there we can see Anton putting the bales on the belt, but they don't have anything picked. So interesting to see what this is going to be bringing in the end. So definitely Valtra, I mean, they are now 100 points behind when we are less than 6 minutes. So they are definitely the underdogs here. And I don't think it has anything to do with the perks at this point. The big hole maybe could have done a difference, but in the end, it wasn't about losing the chance to deliver the huge amount of grain. It's more about the timing and picking the perk or the drop on the 8-minute mark as well. So now it comes to the actual grinding. Valtra will end up with a better multiplier, and they are now tied with the points and with the bales as well. So somehow this just keeps turning the whole time, ups and downs coming in. So what do you think, Alex? Will we finally see you yelling at some point?
Ooh. Team Charlie dropping bales as they're coming in is not helping their case. Valtra are getting 8 points for 8 points extra for every bale delivered. That is easily going to offset the fact that they have to go so much further every time they deliver bales. It's, you know, and that is going to close that gap there. I'm amazed that Valtra have managed to deliver so much more grain than Team Charlie have. It was one of those things where we saw the advantages with the combines that Valtra had managed to grab. But I never thought it would cause that much of a difference between them. So yeah, Team Charlie very much on the back foot now. Valtra just need to get bales in and scored. They will maintain this lead if they do so. And they have a few bales already sitting there. So they are delivering the bales as well. Team Charlie really want to grab this multiplier switch. 34 seconds. They've got a 2.4 multiplier for. They need to score while this is there, and that will close that gap quite a bit. Oh, who's that in
drop
the
on
drink?
the water? That's not great. It's gonna take a time to get that baler. Okay. Now he has turned it the other way around. But anyways, I mean, the super drop, it's still only active for 5 seconds. I think they got a couple bales on the belt, but they're not going to be in time. They will get those without the multiplier switch. Or did they get maybe one of those with the multiplier? So, I mean, there's a very limited time on that one, so you have to act very fast. And if the same guy is going to go for the drop and the same guy is going to go to put those bales, it's going to be super hectic. I don't think that is what happened, but still I would say that Team Charlie didn't get the full advantage from that super drop. So now we have about 100 points of difference. Team Charlie has been pressing the bales though, and look at the amount of bales. They have these like, I mean, you can feed a lot of cows with that amount of bales, to be honest. So, or whatever is your livestock at the farm. But the, and Charlie has been doing a great job by getting them on the belt, especially when they are nicely organized like these are. But at the same time, Valtra, they still have 15 bales, and we know that they can be very efficient getting them inside. So it's going to be delivering some more. We can see Anthem doing the work, about 6 bales right next to the belt. So that is leaving about 9 bales. Well, okay, these bales on the, which were just delivered, plus maybe 6 on the field. So they don't have like a huge backlog by delivering the bales. They don't have them lying around on the fields, and 2 minutes remaining, and the lead is still about 100, 120 points for the moment. And I don't see anything for the moment that would be like stopping Valtra, because they still have the multiplier. They have more bales. So what is your take on this, Alex?
It's at the moment. Team Charlie have to deliver 3 bales for every 2 that Valtra deliver, and that is a rate that's almost impossible to keep up at this point of the game. And you can see that with how much the Valtra is pulling out. Nearly 200 points ahead at this point, and that gap is only getting wider. And it is simply because, despite having to go further round, despite having being able to press fewer bales, they're still producing them and delivering them at a rate that's higher than that. So yeah, I think it's going to be very, very difficult at this point for Team Charlie to come back. They just can't press bales fast enough to make up for this multiplier deficit. If it was maybe 2.1 to 1.9, I think they would be in with a much better shot. But this is just so far gone at the moment that makes it even harder.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, now the gap is like 250 points, and there's no stopping of these slight mistakes that we see from Valtra. They're not gonna matter at all, to be honest. And yeah, I mean, 250 points, and then you take the multiplier difference as well. So I think we might be seeing a pretty big difference in the end, maybe 300 points or something like that, which we haven't seen since the first match of the day, or the first matches of the day. So yeah, there we can see that they're just getting the final bales inside, and they are preparing to celebrate already, closing to 900 points. They don't even deliver all the bales, and it will be Valtra claiming the last spot on the semi-finals for tomorrow with this 2-0 result versus Team Charlie. So Valtra will be the last team that's going to be advancing all the way to the semi-finals. Great performance from both of the teams. Team Charlie, I mean, they definitely had a moment there when they had a chance there, and somehow Valtra did manage to turn the whole situation upside down. I'm not completely sure what happened there on the middle, because for a while the Team Charlie was leading with 100, so Valtra probably had like 3-4 bales already on the belt, just waiting, and then they started to unload and change the multiplier as their advantage. But yeah, great job from Valtra, and we have our final 4 teams for tomorrow.
Yeah, so much more. So much more grain delivered by Valtra there. It's delivered with multiplier. They had 22,000 liters more grain, and delivered without multiplier, they had another 10,000 liters. So over 30,000 liters more grain delivered by Valtra there. They just absolutely killed it with their grain delivery there, and that's why they got that multiplier, and that's why they won by how much they won, because their grain game was just so strong there, and that was mainly, I think, because of the harvesters they got. They got the 2 ideal combines, and then they got the larger combine with the Massey, larger than the Rostelmash. So yeah, it really paid off.
Couple of replays coming up. The issues with the first bale, I think, for Team Charlie on the first game. Yes, It was a bit complicated as we saw 114. This is when we saw the opposing team getting 140 points for Valtra. A couple of incidents here at the silo, losing a bit of a grain there, nothing major happening there. And then, this I don't think we saw actually on the broadcast. So a bit of a driving accident with the ideal, but in the end, just making it through. And yeah, then we'll see what's going to happen with Valtra here. But yeah, just, truck deliveries are happening, the safer route being used. But yeah, that's about it. A couple of jumps from the bridge. I think we had a Valtra having a slight issue with the bridge on the last match as well, but nothing major. Didn't see much anybody flipping or anything like that, so nobody got stuck and lost like a huge amount of time. And this was the one bale which dropped from the belt in the midway, not causing much of a change on the situation. But still, it's something that you can always improve on.
And we see the second match there. First bell going in. Both teams scoring a 125 from that. Charlie getting the silo closed on that first drop, and then both teams. Well, in fact, Valtra. This is possibly where Valtra got the extra. They dumped the grain at the 10-minute mark, and then went and emptied both of those ideal combines again. And the thing is, because they went and did that, they gave themselves more space, whereas Charlie, they didn't. They took the two combines they had and they filled up the Rostel mash as well to try and get it to get that extra grain in. And it did. It cost them 30,000 liters of grain, which is just crazy amount of grain to be down. And you can see it had such a huge effect.
Yeah, I mean, here we can see when Team Charlie actually managed to get the bale multiplier, and also had the slight advantage on the normal multiplier, so they were able to score 35 points per bale for a time being, and that's when they took the kind of like the early lead. But then, Valtra came back fighting. A couple of mistakes here on the bridges as well. That's going to cost a lot of time to gather those back up and running, so that is definitely some time lost. And now we can see just this how Valtra is handling the belt. No problems for Anton here. All three bales nicely. I think we at the best situation we saw them having like 4 or 5 bales on the belt at the same time. So great job. And the final push, maybe just putting one on the top. Actually, it's not like a bale flipping, but does he get it still inside? It looks to be almost the case.
No,
that is so
quite
close actually, but it didn't happen. Anyway, so for tomorrow we have a great set of matches to come. It's going to be Lindner versus New Holland, and it's going to be Horny gang, the ex-Trelleborg lineup versus Valtra. Those will build the semifinals, and then of course we have the grand final as well. So 3 matches for tomorrow. And we're going to start at 10:15 on the same channel. So wherever you're watching this, you will find it from the same place tomorrow at 10:15 Central European Time.
And it's going to be a good set of semi-finals and final. We got 4 really great teams having made it through. And with all of the new rules around the perks, the team perks and the personal perks, it's going to be a really interesting game, because we're going to see strategies tomorrow that we haven't seen all of last season. And I'm really quite excited by the fact that we've got that little bit of uncertainty and a little bit of intensity has been added back in. And how that's going to change things going forward is going to be amazing. I'm really looking forward to it.
And of course, tomorrow it's going to be me and Alex tomorrow as well. So unfortunately for all the Terminator fans, he will not be here tomorrow. He's going to be resting this week and had a very busy week with a lot of work-related stuff. So he's not going to be extending his working week to the weekend. But we're going to be here. And of course, we're going to bring you all the excitement and Maybe we'll find a way, even though we don't have the introduction video, to bring him to the broadcast at least some way. So we'll find a way. But anyways, thank you, and I'll hope to see you guys tomorrow as well. Sleep well and be here early when the action starts. And of course, you can always go to Leipzig as well. We are at the Cactus Gaming Festival there. The event is happening there. So make sure to go there if you're from their area as well, because you can find a lot of great people, players, and everybody from there.
Yeah. And we will, as Cobb said, we'll be back tomorrow. For now, all left is for us to say goodbye. Bye, everyone.